Texas Barons Podcast. Let's go.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? Today I have a very special guest, and Kacie, tell me your last name. How do you say your last name?
Scherler.
Scherler. Kacie Scherler, and she owns a very popular business in downtown Wichita Falls called Resupply. But she also owns a regenerative farm. Is that how you say it right? So we're going to dive into it. Kacie, I want you to just tell everybody like a quick summary of your business, a little bit about your farm, and we're just going to start picking your brain of how it all came together.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me.
You bet. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. So Resupply, I think the common term is a zero waste store.
Cool.
I personally don't like that because zero waste is the ideal, but it's not realistic for a lot of us.
Okay.
So we say it's for low waste living. We encourage people to help keep plastic out of the landfill by using containers you already have, bring them in, refill with all kinds of household goods from your herbs and spices to your laundry detergent and shampoo.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we've actually talked about Resupply before when Britt Cooper was on here. And Britt uses you as your wholesaler. And then we just kind of said it's kind of like a general store with extra things. You know, like, I don't know if you sell tools and plungers, but you do sell, like you said, detergents and different soaps and different ingredients for food, and you do sell meat and stuff like that. So super cool. I'm your customer. I've been actually saving all my glass bottles from the kombucha we were talking about. My kids love this apple juice that comes in a 1 gallon glass jar. Been saving those, and so I'm just like, we gotta get back to Resupply so we can go buy some cool stuff. But anyways, I'm curious to how this started. You were talking with me right before we got on here of it kind of started with the farm and then grew out of that. So just kind of walk us through, how did the farm start? And then I really want you to dive deep into this regenerative, would you call it, what's the hot click word? It starts with a P, farming.
Permaculture.
Is it similar or? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's just hear about it. I'm interested. I think it's the new wave of what everyone needs to be encouraged to do. So I want to know your experience with that, and then how we got to Resupply.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll back up a little bit for context.
Okay.
So I grew up on this farm in Walters, Oklahoma.
Okay.
We're just like 35 minutes north of Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
And growing up on the farm, I absolutely hated it.
Right. Okay.
My family farms conventionally, they raise a lot of cattle for beef and grow crops like wheat and cotton and soybeans. And I just thought, I belong in the city.
Yeah.
This life is not for me.
Right.
I became vegetarian when I was 15.
Okay.
Which my family was like, vegetarian? What does that mean? Here's some ham.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So when I graduated from high school, I moved to California for college. I went to a school called Pepperdine. It's in Southern California.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't really plan on coming back to the farm, but I knew that I was interested in working with food systems.
Okay.
I knew that supply chains were really complicated and that most people don't know where their food comes from.
Correct.
So I went on to grad school. I got a master's in social entrepreneurship.
Cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a business degree, but with a social impact.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, cool. Congrats for that. That's awesome. What, just a side question here. How long did that take you to get your degree?
So that I did 4 years in undergrad and then an additional 2 years.
Oh man. All right. Well, guys, follow your dreams because it pays off. So cool. So, and then, then what happened after graduation?
Yeah. So I started, throughout grad school, instead of writing a thesis, I worked on a business plan and I pitched it to investors. And it was this idea, I called it What Grows Where. And the idea was that, this kind of exists now in other forms, but QR codes on food products that you can scan with your phone.
Yeah.
And, it pulls up on your phone this whole story of where did it grow? Who were the farmers? What's their story? I just wanted people to feel connected.
Okay,
to
cool.
their food.
I like it. Yeah.
It was a really neat idea. But I pitched it to investors and we got some bites. But then I realized, there were people way smarter than me kind of already doing this thing.
Gotcha.
And I realized I wanted to be more kind of hands-on. And so I transitioned into the nonprofit sector, and I worked
Okay.
for a nonprofit called Fair Trade. So if you've ever seen the Fair Trade logo, sometimes it's on
I
chocolate.
have. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Your clothing could be Fair Trade certified.
Okay.
Especially if you go to Natural Grocers or something. You're gonna
Okay,
see
that
foods.
maybe that's what it's from. Maybe the kombucha or something
Yes.
has it. Okay,
Uh-huh.
okay, cool.
And basically that label just means everyone in the supply chain for this product was paid a good living, fair, ethical wage.
Okay, I gotcha.
And so I worked there for a while. I realized even more so how I didn't like that we were not only disconnected from our food, but disconnected from local food.
Correct. Yes, 100%. Mm-hmm.
So I was getting kind of frustrated in that realm too. And long story short, I met my husband in 2017. We got married. We bought an Airstream. We
Okay.
were going to travel around, work remotely.
Like a silver bullet
Silver
Airstream.
bullet.
Okay, did y'all have to
Yes.
remodel it?
We
or-
did. It was like
okay.
1972.
Cool. Did it have the orange shag carpet in it originally?
Maybe.
Okay, because funny story, my cousins and my aunt and uncle lived in Paducah, Texas.
Uh-huh.
And then for a short time period of that, it could have been, I can't remember, but they had an Airstream. And then at one point, now they live in Owl Park, but then at one point they drug the Airstream back. And I can remember being a little bit older, like a teenager, and going in there and just the shag, the dense, dark orange shag carpet in there. So
You can probably remember the texture.
yeah,
too,
and just
right?
how gunky it was because they were farmers. They did the normal cowboy and farmer stuff. So of course it got lived in hard, and it was 3 little kids in there. And so, anyways, man, I bet that was an undertaking to get that back in a livable way.
Yes.
So
Well, we didn't actually get to live in it, and this is
Okay.
where our story really.
okay, cool,
Takes forward.
cool. Let's hear it.
2 months after we got married, I started experiencing these really weird symptoms. I was losing feeling in my legs.
Okay.
And, I'd go to the doctor, and the doctor would say, I think you just have sciatic nerve issues. And I was like, I really don't think this is my sciatic nerve. But no one was taking me seriously. And then eventually, this was around Christmas time of 2018, I woke up one morning and lost feeling completely in my lower body.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And they took me to the emergency room, did all of these scans. They found lesions in my spinal cord. And basically, they didn't know what was causing it, but they gave me a 30% chance of recovery.
Geez.
So
Okay.
I was in the hospital for a while. They pumped me full of steroids and other drugs, sent me home. Thankfully, my family had a fixer-upper house on the farm,
Okay.
and we needed to be near my family
Right.
just for extra care and support. And so we were like, okay, we're going to move onto the farm and hope for the best.
Man, and then how long had y'all been married at this point?
Just 2 months.
So
Yeah.
welcome to the family,
Yeah.
just horrible medical problems come up and then completely game change. Because I'm sure y'all had big dreams and maybe even a dream board of like what this Airstream life was going to look like. And then y'all had it all planned out. You're going to be working on your computers and man, life threw you a freaking wrench in the gears quick. So, okay, well, what did it look like moving into the fixer upper and from there on out?
Yeah. Well, we got hooked up with who were the people who kind of set up your home to be, handicap accessible
Okay.
and all of this stuff. And so I was very distraught. My husband was distraught, but we were just like, okay, I don't know what life looks like right now, but we're going to make the most. And so my husband, his name is Zach. He spent a lot of time remodeling this fixer-upper house.
Okay.
And throughout this whole period over the next few months, I was just desperately searching for ways to recover. And we ended up getting into Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They're supposed to be, the best of the best neurologists.
Okay.
We end up there. I finally get a diagnosis. It's a super rare autoimmune disease.
Okay.
It goes by MOG, M-O-G. It stands for something that I can't
Okay.
pronounce. But
Yeah, no big deal. Y'all can Google it.
yeah. But they didn't really offer any sort of healing prospects either, or they
Okay.
didn't say this is what you should be doing.
And was your body like basically attacking itself? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's similar to a disease like multiple sclerosis, where it
Okay.
attacks like your spine, your brain, your optic nerve.
Jeez, okay.
So, some people with this disease will just, wake up blind.
Oh my
It
God.
it just hits you out of nowhere, kind of.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So very terrifying.
Yes, for sure.
And my husband too. So he grew up in Uganda. He was a missionary kid.
Okay.
And then his family moved to Portland. And I know the last place he ever wanted to end up probably was Walters, Oklahoma.
Right. Big shift. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was during this time I discovered this diet called the Autoimmune Protocol.
Okay.
And essentially it focuses on clean meats and veggies.
Okay.
Nothing else. But a lot of people had been able to heal their autoimmune conditions through following this diet.
Okay.
And that's when we were like, okay, we want to try this. I'm going to go all in, but we can't source the meat that we need, the quality of meat that we need.
Right.
And so we were like, okay, we live on my family's farm. Let's get a couple cows. Let's do it ourselves. That way we know exactly what went into raising these animals.
Yeah.
And in that process, we discovered regenerative agriculture, which is now what we practice. And I mean, we've grown a lot. We sell our meat here. We sell at the farmer's market, and we used to sell here. We will again in the winter, but in the summers, we're up in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
But now we farm 400 acres. We've got over 100 cows, pigs, chickens.
Cool.
And it looks very different than conventional farming.
Yeah, for sure.
The priority is healing the land. If we heal the land, we heal our bodies because we're eating the most nutrient dense foods
I like that.
possible.
I like that a lot. And then, but I'm curious what it looked like once you learned of this diet. And then first question, did you butcher your cow yourself, or did you send it off to somewhere like Fisher's or?
Fisher's.
Okay, yeah. Shout out Fisher's. They've done a lot of show pigs and cows and stuff for us. But so what precautions did y'all take to make sure you raised your cow the best way possible? I mean, because it's yours, so you had full and total control. If you could just go full grass, full coastal, whatever. Did you put it on sweet feed at the end of it? Walk me through that process. This is a growing interest now of people wanting something more farm to market. And I just actually bought some from a good friend named Dane Burgeon. Thank you, Dane.
Nice.
But so what did the cow's life look like once you set in on this mission?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I always like to preface this too when I talk about the farm, that when we talk about the style of our farming, we never are pitting it against conventional farms and the decisions that they make.
Right.
Most conventional farmers don't have the flexibility, the agency that we have to make the decisions that we've been able to make. And so it's a delicate conversation, especially in this part of the country where so many people farm and ranch. And, I just want to reiterate that we don't think there's a right way and a wrong way.
Gotcha. This is just what you chose to do for your business.
Yes.
Gotcha. And you have a 110% right to do that, and just like they do, the way that they do. So, cool. So what did it look like?
Yeah. So with cattle, strictly grass-fed, grass-finished. We think that, cattle are designed biologically to eat pasture, and diverse pasture at that.
Okay, cool.
We also rotate, so we move our cattle 3 to 5, maybe more times per day.
Okay. And are y'all working on like a grid system that like there's an A lot, B lot, and you got
we have paddocks, and they just move paddock to paddock. Every time we go out there, they know that means fresh grass. They just follow us under the wire.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you use a bell or a truck with a siren or anything? Okay, cool. Yeah. So y'all have a real in-touch relationship with your animals on there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a growing thing, which farmers have always loved their animals. Hopefully they have. But with your story, with other people I've watched on Hulu or YouTube, people get more connected and invested in their entire farm doing it this way. They have more of a basically an investment with it, and then more of a personal connection with it. So that's interesting that you do that 3 to 5 times a day. Is that what you said? Man, so do y'all have cowboys on the farm? So it's you and your husband?
Us.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. And then so what's the family structure like at the farm? Are y'all all family? I mean, who's all working it, and who's moving cows? Who's doing what out at the farm right now?
Yeah, I mean, so it is just my husband and I doing this. My dad, my brother, my cousins, they do farm and ranch conventionally in the area. We basically rent scrub land from them, the land that nobody else wants.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not really a part of our operation.
Okay, I gotcha.
It is really boots on the ground. Like what we're doing cannot be mechanized.
Right.
It does involve like high intensity relationship
For
and
sure.
intentionality
For
to
sure.
make it happen. And it's really hard to travel. That's the most frustrating part about it, but we love what we do.
Yeah,
so it's
I
good.
mean, you'd have to in order to live this life, and but it's so cool. And I was thinking about it just now in the conversation, but I was thinking about resupply as a whole. It's technically an ancient technique, but we've gotten so far away from everything that our not just our great grandparents, like our ancestors did, with moving the cows, with being out there and being very intense, but also, when you think of like old market days, it was people bringing barrels of whatever commodity that they had. And that's very similar in a sense to your business. And I was like, we've gotten so far away and we've been marketed this package per item lifestyle. And it's like, you're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
You're just bringing the first model back, essentially, So,
Totally.
I mean, it's almost common sense. Me and my friend were talking about common sense things that Texas needs to do, and it kind of falls the same lines of like, you almost sound crazy in a bit, but when you step back from the day-to-day, the normal, it's like, no, this is efficient, this is reliable, and it's not exploitative in a sense, So I really, really do admire it. And then we were talking about, we mentioned permaculture. We like these dang Australians got it figured out on, and they know how to work YouTube, like the back of their hand, and they just have really cool content of how they take, maybe it's just an acre or two, and they use every square inch of that thing, and it all works together like an ecosystem. And so that's awesome, and I'm glad that y'all do it. I didn't realize, but months ago, maybe even years ago, y'all were set up at Wichita Falls Farmers Market, and I saw that your husband was selling beef, and I was like, okay, cool. If it's anything besides what's on the grocery store, I'll consider it, And then I talked to him, and I didn't even know it was y'all. Didn't even know about your business. Didn't know anything. And he had mentioned something about that. And more of our conversations coming up from now that we're talking. But I was like, okay, cool. These are like the people that I've seen on these documentaries and on these YouTube channels. So it's good to see it getting back into our small town, And so I really do like it. But I mean, beef is not the only thing that y'all are raising out there. What's the rest of the farm culture look like for y'all?
Yeah. Well, we do pigs for pork, and we also rotate them. They're pasture raised. We don't feed them corn, soy, or GMOs.
Cool.
And all of this it's really foreign to a lot of people, but it's just through research that we've done, both for our health and the health of the soil, that we make the decisions that we make.
Yeah, for sure.
Same with the chickens. We raise eggs on pasture. We don't feed our chickens corn, soy, or GMOs. And then we grow cover crops. So
now explain that to people that aren't gardeners or little farmers or anything.
Yeah. So in an ideal world, soil should have ground cover all the time. And some of the land we're renting was historically monocropped. So most pasture out here, people are growing the same crop year over year over year. When you harvest that crop, so winter wheat, for example, was just harvested in May. It's not planted again until September, October. That leaves all summer long with bare dirt.
Just in the heat of Texas.
Yes. Absorbing this heat, killing any sort of microbial life in the topsoil. That's what leads to things like the Dust Bowl.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we're really all about ground cover. Even the way we move our cattle is all about the health of the plants. So we've seen now we're in our 4th year of doing this. We have so many native species coming back that, we work with the NRCS, and they come out and they're just like, wow, like this transformation is happening so quickly.
Love it.
It's the way that, if you think about bison and the way that they used to migrate across the Great Plains, there were 30 million bison.
Yeah.
Just like kind of mowing the tops off of the grasses but then leaving it, versus in conventional farming, oftentimes we let cattle out. They eat everything down to the soil. Again, not leaving any of that ground cover. But what we do when we move them, it's like their manure is providing fertilizer. Their hooves are trampling.
True, kind of tilling it a little bit.
Naturally,
Yeah.
And so what we get out of that is like even deeper root systems,
Cool.
which allow the plants to grow even taller and healthier, which actually pulls more carbon out of the atmosphere.
Nice.
And so this is where it gets interesting, right? Because like everyone's demonizing meat right now. And
then the industry as a whole completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the industrialized food system is really bad for the planet, and it is really bad for our health. But same, industrialized cattle is bad, but so is industrialized soybeans and all of these other things that are depleting the earth.
Yes.
But essentially, that's what we're prioritizing.
I gotcha, and I love it completely. And I feel I just want to say this. I feel honored talking to you right now because I've seen so many of these documentaries and I've watched so many YouTube videos over this, and this is a real interest of mine and my wife's. And so it's amazing getting to hear a first-hand story from someone. I feel like I'm getting to watch one of my favorite documentaries right now. So I really do love everything that y'all are doing. And when you're talking about the autoimmune diet, you struck something with me that I have heard. Have you heard of Jordan Peterson? And Jordan has had a similar issue with, I think his daughter has had a similar issue. Her body just started attacking itself, and they took it upon themselves, just like you did, started finding diets, learned that it was something that she was consuming, and I think he stuck to
carnivore.
I don't want to get them wrong, but one of them went full carnivore and one of them was able to do vegetables. I think maybe they both did it. Anyways, he explains it. You can find it yourself and go listen to it. But they went full blown carnivore and just started fixing problem after problem. But I hope and assume that they were going on a path that you did with a more personalized farm to table product. But it's so true of just we're eating poison, basically. We're buying poison. And I mean, no one's holding a gun to our head at Market Street to go buy these steaks or whatever. But when you don't know, you just don't know. Right. When the resources are so limited, or maybe they haven't heard of resupply or similar people like that. And then, there's just so much benefit to our food. And our food can be turned into medicine, basically, or at least get us back to par, just back to square one where it's not negatively affecting us, And I've done not a major diet change, but eating less, eating cleaner, just less garbage, for sure no McDonald's, Taco Bell crap. And then so when we eat just say heavier meal, from a fun restaurant, man, it feels like I got poisoned that day. And it's not, I do not ever get food poisoning from these places around here, but my body just feels like someone filled it full of grease almost, and you're just groggy, you maybe get a headache. And then I've heard of people getting writer's block from heavy carbs. And then that brings you into the conversation of so many people want to almost be harsh or critical on people that have a wheat allergy, or what's the general term for it when you have a hard time with wheat products?
Celiac or gluten-free.
When you have a gluten problem, and then people have been eating wheat and these things for thousands of years, but not the wheat that we consume now, not the flour that we're buying from Walmart. That is not what our great grandparents were making, or their parents. So we're just kind of getting a hood thrown over our eyes a little bit and just say, this is what you have. You can buy it from us, or you can raise it yourself. So I like people like you and your company that took it upon yourself to change your reality, and then it's worked clearly, because I assume you were in a wheelchair for a little bit of time since y'all were doing handicap type of things.
I could stand and hobble, but it was rough. But after I started this diet, within a month, I began to recover very quickly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And I just wanted to say that Yeah, she clearly walked in here. She's not in a chair, she's in a office chair now, but she stands, I mean, you're probably what, 6'1", 6'2", but yeah, stands proudly tall. And so, I mean, food is medicine, man.
It really is.
And I've come to find out, I've been doing more and more research over mushrooms, and then some being completely normal, just like what you would eat with a salad or use as a powder. But then luckily, there's people way smarter than me doing research on magic mushrooms. And then so they're finding therapy and actual medicinal uses for them, but then more grocery store type of mushrooms, they find that this helps with your memory, this helps with your cognitive ability, or just kind of like a vitamin pack, so to say. And it's coming more mainstream, thank God. So, and businesses like yours are being able to really thrive in this environment of people wanting better. We're finally wanting better as a whole. And then so anyways, like I said, we can get off on tangents on whatever we want to. That's what it's for. But I'm curious as to, so you'll have a farm going, and when did, you're making the meat for yourself, but when did it take off and be like, okay, we could start making money doing other things? Did it start with farmers markets? What happened?
Yeah, so I mean, we bought 3 Longhorns to start. We don't run Longhorns for meat anymore, but it was a learning experience in the beginning. We had some extra, we thought, let's go to the farmer's market down here. Wichita Falls has been our hub. I mean, Walters is very small. Yeah. 2,500 people. This is kind of the place we go if we were to get groceries or go to a movie or, so it's a place we've been plugged into for a while.
Cool.
So we go to the farmer's market, and we didn't really expect for people to care about what we're doing, the way we're doing it. But we were very shocked to find that there was a demand for this.
Cool. Was it immediate?
Not necessarily immediate, but enough to where we were like, okay, this is worth looking into.
Good.
And the cool thing about the farm, which our farm is called Refarm, Resupply, Refarm.
Yeah.
There's like a
like it.
With our farm products, there's something about them that appeals to just about everybody. Some people are more interested in it for their personal health. Some people are interested in the environmental impact, but there's always a connector point. So it's just a matter of us talking to our customers and figuring out what it is that they care about and bridging that gap.
Yeah, and I can say from a personal experience, your husband gave me a little bit of a rundown of what y'all did at the first time I got to, even know what y'all were or who y'all were. So good job. And you got to have, if you're going to do something different, you got to be ready to talk about it. And that's just kind of one of those things that somebody could be the best cattle raiser, farmer, whatever your hobby is. But if you don't have that kind of business mindset or willingness to put yourself out there, you may stay in the shadows. So good tip, people, just be willing to put yourself out there if you really believe in what you're doing. But so you start the farmer's market, and then you clearly didn't stay there. What started happening to really get y'all in a groove of going brick and mortar?
Yeah, well, I think we had to take a very big risk in terms of expanding our cattle herd. That's a big loan, a big commitment.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think at that point we thought, okay, we're all in. But then, the pandemic happened.
Okay.
And that really hurt us for a while. It hurt the farmers market customer base for a while. And it was during that time that I had sort of been dabbling with the idea of resupply.
Okay.
Both just to have a hub to sell our farm product, but also I'd just been really frustrated with the lack of recycling here.
There you go. I agree.
So that was one aspect. And then the other aspect was lack of access to toxin-free products. So with my autoimmune disease, I became highly conscious of what I'm buying. And there's so much. It's such a shame that we as the consumers have to read the fine print and read these ingredient labels. The fact that grocery stores are even able to sell products that knowingly cause harm or knowingly contain carcinogens, so many products. That was frustrating to me. And we do have natural grocers, but even then I love natural grocers. I go there almost every day.
Nice.
But there's a lot of greenwashing that happens. There's still a lot of plastic being used. And so I was
they almost use the marketing of like, oh, we're positive, we're, eco-friendly, but they could just be a part of a huge, maybe that little tiny company that does do that, but then they're a huge part of a bigger company, you know,
Totally.
and then that are doing all the negative things that they, claim to be not a part of. So,
like Unilever probably owns like half the brands. Which it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I was just like, how cool would it be to have a one-stop shop where customers didn't even have to think twice about the products that they're buying.
Nice.
And we just, with the recycling thing, like we all have stuff lying around our house. Like we all have cabinets full of jars, spaghetti sauce jars. And I tell people, we don't care if you bring a Ziploc bag. Like we're not judging you for using plastic.
Yeah.
Use what you already have.
Cool.
And that way too, you just get to take what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we started demoing this space that we rent downtown. We don't own, but we started working on the storefront, I guess late 2020. Opened last June, a little over a year ago.
Cool. Well, I want to rewind you a little bit, and you talked about getting ready to take a real, basically leap of faith with expanding your cows and then expanding your herd. And then, so did you have to go get a loan to do that? Okay, I want to walk through that process because there may be someone out there that wants to do something similar, but I know that the banking side and the tax side of things, and I also have questions about the legal side of selling meat, are all big questions that can scare people out of it. So when y'all decided, okay, we need a bigger herd and we're going to start selling more meat, walk me through the steps of like who you considered to get a loan from and what you had to be ready to present in order to get that money.
Yeah, so our farm loans we get from the Farm Service Agency, which is essentially, I think, a branch of the USDA.
Okay.
Every county, I think, has an FSA office.
Okay.
And there are a lot of loans available for new farmers.
Good.
So you have to know what you're doing. You've got to be able to write out on paper, this is what I'm spending. This is how I'm going to make it back. This is how I'm going to pay you back.
Make a real good business plan, basically. Yes. Okay.
But the money is there if just about anybody wants to go all in and be a farmer.
Okay, cool.
So there are a lot of sort of safety nets in place.
Good,
I would
good
say.
to know.
It was much easier for us to get farm money than like small business money.
Right. Okay.
Example.
Okay. And then probably way easier than a mortgage right now.
Yes.
Golly, that's a whole nother beast within itself. But that's good to know. And I haven't. Actually, I'll tell you a story. I have bought animals off of a loan when I was in high school. Did you do any FFA type stuff when you were in high school?
A little bit.
And then we kept our record books from our freshman year to our senior year of what you were doing. It's not really a business plan, but it's kind of like your permanent record, so to say, of what you've been doing as an FFA member. Well, so me and my dad made this plan that I was going to buy 6 Rambouillet lambs, all white lambs with little horns or whatever. And then, so luckily, we went more conventional to a bank here in Owl Park and then sat down, hey, I'm doing this FFA project. This is for my record books. I'm going to buy these lambs and some equipment to go with them. And then that's how I actually got my credit as a young man. My dad co-signed a loan for me.
Nice.
And then we ended up raising those lambs. They had babies, sold the babies, paid the lambs off, got it all on my record books and everything. But that was my actual start into credit at, I think it was like 14 or 15.
That's
and
such
then
a good experience.
that really helped me out now as a grown adult. And so just a couple different avenues for people, different examples of if you are looking to get some money, just come up with a business plan. Know what you're going to do and be able to prove how you're going to get it back to the bank because they're going to want that money back. That's the thing about them loans is you got to pay them back. But so let's see, you got everything, you got your loan, but then I'll save the tax questions for later because I have a couple of them, a couple questions for you. But you're wanting to start selling meat. And that can be a finicky thing here in Texas, well, honestly, the whole U.S. I want to know the leaps and hurdles that y'all had to get over and get around in order to legally sell meat. And what was the difference is there any difference from farmers market selling to now you have a brick and mortar of your own products? How'd that go down? How'd you go through that?
Yeah. So I'd say the number one hurdle for meat producers, first of all, is getting processing dates.
Okay.
So if anyone out there is looking for a lucrative business to get into, butchering.
For sure. Nobody has availability right now. Everybody in this, I want to say state, is backed up right now. And then, guys, there's one for sale in Scotland. Yeah. And shout out to the Carcanos. I think they're trying to sell their business. So go open another one. We need more help and more availability.
Yeah, definitely. But the other big hurdle is that for us to sell, we sell across state lines. So our farm's in Oklahoma. We want to sell in Oklahoma, Texas. And in the spring, this next spring, we're hoping to start shipping and really ramp up.
Okay.
But we have to be processed by a USDA federally inspected processing plant.
Okay.
So there's a lot of processing plants in Texas, in Oklahoma, but Fisher's, for example, only has one day out of the week where they have a USDA federal inspector there.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So not only are we fighting for dates, but we're fighting for dates in one small time frame. And that is just, they don't make it easy for small producers. Processing costs have gone up significantly because of inflation. And so, people who have a few animals that they're butchering for themselves or their friends, that makes a lot of sense. But if you're trying to run a profitable business, you kind of do have to reach a certain scale for it to make sense.
Yeah.
I wish the system were different, but the system favors the Tysons of the world.
Yes,
it is
unfortunately.
But yeah, that's been a hurdle. But, we've built really good rapport with Fisher's Animal Test down in Munster, Texas as well.
Yeah.
So luckily we can pretty much squeeze in some time as we need it. But it took a long time to get to that point and have that security there.
For sure, because I don't know of too many people, but y'all are for sure not the only people that are want to sell, home raised beef. And so it's very competitive right now. And then on top of that, you have so many people that just raise one or two cows that for themselves only, and you're competing with times and stuff like that too. So it gets down to being a good time and business manager, of just being aware of everything that's going on. It's a lot to juggle all at once to just get right in the sweet spot and make sure. So you have to have everything USDA approved.
Yes, for what we do.
Right, because of the state lines thing?
Yeah, and selling in the store.
Okay.
But I think if someone, had their farm here and wanted to sell at the market, they probably wouldn't have to be.
Okay.
It'd
And
be a little
then
easier.
someone was, the guy I just bought beef from the other day was explaining to me that since he doesn't go anywhere besides Texas, he only had to have a Texas agent approve it. I think that's what he told me. I could be wrong. Fact check me. Don't kill me.
I think you're right.
Okay, cool. But it's sad that, the whole system does work for people like Tyson, because people like Tyson have big old, what do they call them, lobbyists? And they're paying the way to get the golden path just easy to walk down for them to make the millions and billions. But luckily, we're in the new age of diets and being aware of what goes in our body, and then now you have the customers willing to put in the effort and a little bit more money to get a better product. And that's what I've been liking about I've had to experience it myself, being self-employed, my wife being self-employed, and it's like, look, we're not trying to give you the Walmart products, we're not trying to give you the Chinese manufactured Amazon crap. When you shop with us or work with us, you're getting top of the line. We did services, we never did products, but some of my friends like Britt Cooper do products, and it's not something that's made in a factory. These are handmade products and handmade groceries from y'all, and it's like they are a little bit more expensive, but luckily, like I said, people are willing to do it, and there's a real call for it, because I'm familiar with, only because this company got on Shark Tank, called Moink. I'm sure have you heard of them? They're pretty successful, but I think she started a very similar path that y'all did, but then got everyone else from her area involved, and she started buying the processed beef, chicken, cow, whatever, from them, and then she made a food delivery service. And so it's straight farm to table. She does good. I mean, you could probably, I was kind of tinkering around with the idea of stealing her business model, honestly, and then doing something similar. But man, it's hands-on. It's really, really hands-on. And there is a, I guess you could call it a butcher shop on Highway 287, right there by Owl Park, right before you get into City of Owl Park. And then it started as a taxidermy for like deer and stuff like that. The game warden shut them down, so that building is vacant, but it's like a brand new butcher taxidermy shop. And it's expensive for sure, but when I was in the process of kind of selling my equipment and looking at like, what do we want to do? I was kind of getting drawn into the idea, similar to y'all, because one of my best friends just inherited, whatever you call it, his grandpa's cattle operation. Uh-oh. Okay, so we're going to fix the microphone. We'll be right back.
You're very good at this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's all just winging it, like I was saying, just to get that organic feel to it. And luckily, I'm pretty curious. And say, like, if I was to run into you or your husband, say like at a bar or something right next door to y'all's shop, and then I somehow knew or learned that y'all did this stuff, I'd have the same similar questions, you know. And then so I kind of took that idea of a conversation and be like, okay, this is how I want it done. And then another thing, it kills me when I hear somebody that like I know their story and know, say me and you have been buds for 20 years and I heard you talking to somebody that like you weren't getting your point across clearly. I was like, it kills me. I've heard my brother do that. I've heard other people do that. And I'm like, I can say your story better than you, so I want to push, but I'm not going to interject. But on this, I can ask the right questions to, you know, just get the right info. Because I know what I want to know, and I hope my whole business model is I hope someone else is curious like me. But
so many people don't know how to ask good questions.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think it's funny that, and we can get back on track. I'll cue us back in. But me and my dad both had speech impediments when we were little babies, and I had to go to, me and him both, I had to go to speech therapy and learn all that. And then, you know, I just spoke basically gibberish for first several years of my life. And then now you can't get me to shut the hell up. So turned it into a business. But
Love it.
anyways, we're back. We had a little bit of microphone trouble and got everything squared away. But what I was going to say was I was tinkering with the same idea because my friend he was already kind of in the business, and then his grandfather passed away and he took over full operation. And I was like, man, I really wish there was a way that we could just cut the sale barn out of the situation, because they're probably giving him pennies versus what someone selling the steak or the pound of meat is getting off of that. And if he could integrate that, you know, my idea was it'd be cool if I bought that butcher shop that's vacant right now, turn it into kind of a grocery store, where like how you have your meat freezer in your shop, and then just have Mitch be my only provider. I was like, that'd really put Mitch on the map, you know. But man, it is an undertaking. So I have to applaud y'all for doing the elbow grease, the work to get it legal. And you know, you could just be selling this shit out of the back of your car, but no one's going to trust you, and there's no longevity in that. There's there's real pride to be taken of doing things the right way.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, since if anyone doesn't know, Resupply is in Wichita Falls, but also in Norman. Is that correct? So you've talked about it a little bit with the meat and with traveling and things. But business gets really sticky whenever you want to do anything over state lines. And then I knew a lot of my old colleagues in the heavy equipment industry would completely steer away from going to Oklahoma, even though in my old line of work, Oklahoma has better rocks and better gravel and more sought after. But people would be like, I'm just not going to do the taxes. I'm not going to take that headache. So I'm going to give them a lesser product, or pay someone else that does all the taxes, to pay someone else that does do that, to go over state lines, and I'll buy it more expensive. I wanted to know what your experience was of how to juggle basically a business in 2 different states.
Yeah, it's an undertaking.
Yeah, for sure.
Something that I'm still learning.
Okay.
So I have since invested in a really good accountant.
Good. Okay.
But
shout them out. Who is it?
Well, we use David Schumpert up in Walters.
Okay. Cool.
And I have now a bookkeeper through QuickBooks.
Okay.
So I went year 1 with the store down here without any help. I was like, I could do all this on my own. And then tax season rolls around, and I was about to lose it.
Yeah, for sure. I've been there. I know exactly what you mean.
And I realized how disorganized I had been, even though I thought I was checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I wasn't even aware of.
Yeah.
And so
you don't know until you know.
Yes.
Or worse, until you get in trouble for it and you get that bad phone call. Mr. Watts, this is blah, 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 and you're like, oh, God. Yes. Okay, please don't arrest me. What do I have to do?
Yeah.
So what was it like year 1?
Yeah, well, it was just, it was rough, and I still am crossing my fingers that all of our paperwork was correct.
Yeah.
But you're right in that the tax differences between Oklahoma and Texas are very wide.
Okay.
Like, they're essentially run as 2 separate
businesses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of work, and while it hurts a little bit to pay an accountant when you're really in the grind, like you don't have cash to spare on anything unnecessary.
And what does an accountant look like? Are you doing like a monthly thing, a quarterly thing? What?
Quarterly with the accountant, monthly with the bookkeepers.
Okay.
They're keeping everything in line, and it's pretty reasonable on QuickBooks.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't using QuickBooks for the first 6 months either. I was using an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh no, everyone, and I'm not, but I've used some Microsoft crap. But my dad started a trash company using Excel, and I was like, there's better ways to do this. And luckily he hired the right people to show him, hey dude, we can't be doing this lame. We got to get you to 21st century.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. So you got away from Excel, you got into QuickBooks, and then they start really lining you out, or?
Yes. It was a mega cleanup job.
Okay,
Probably
good.
took 4 months just to get everything cleaned up, organized, categorized where it needed to go.
Yeah.
But man, that's something worth investing in. And I'm
sure.
still kicking myself. Like, why wouldn't I do that from the beginning? Because it would have saved me
4 months.
Hundreds
At
of
least,
hours. Lots of headache. Some things are just worth investing in from the get-go.
For sure.
But it's so hard to know that when you just don't know where to put your pennies.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're starting a business.
Yeah, and whenever you're getting, you could say you have several thousand, or I don't know what your income is now, but I bet it's a way more than when y'all started just doing farmers markets and stuff. But when you're in that beginning stage, and I guess y'all had taken that loan out at this point, and you're like, we don't have time or money to spare to give someone technically a cleanup crew. But whenever you don't have to pay a fee or a fine for not doing something correctly, you got to look at it that way, because you're going to miss something. There's just like how to run a brick and mortar better than me, because I don't do that day to day like you do. We don't do the tax game every single day like a CPA or like a bookkeeper does. And it's a whole complete job within itself. And it's just a struggle to keep everything organized as the owner, let alone keep everything completely above board and legal on the tax side.
Right.
God, it just stresses me out talking about it. And we're actually shopping around right now for an accountant, but to get us even more organized. So, golly. So what looked like, or what happened? Don't mention it if anything's illegal in the 4 months of cleanup. And then what did y'all start doing after the 4 months?
Oh, well, I mean, this is a really simple example of how ignorant I was. So, inventory, for example, I was categorizing as inventory, and you're supposed to categorize inventory as cost of goods sold.
Okay.
And this is something that everyone I've shared this to, they're like, obviously, but how was I supposed to know these things? And Google, some things are just difficult to Google.
Yeah, I agree.
Google has all the answers, but you have to know how to ask it.
Yes, 100%. And that's a skill set in itself of knowing maybe even how to ask the question that you don't know what you're exactly asking for.
Exactly.
And so that's why you see people asking random or stupid shit on Facebook. But it's like, no, I need a real person, not an AI robot, to tell me what was your experience at this place or what was your experience doing this job, whatever. So.
Right. And especially when you get employees, that adds this other layer of complexity.
Yes.
Like, okay, I have an employee. I'm going to do payroll taxes, but also filing, you have to pay unemployment tax in the state of Texas and the state of Oklahoma, all of these other taxes, and nothing. There should just be a rule book, you know, where it's like, you do this, and this, but it's not. You have to go through all these different agencies, all these different people.
Yeah, no, you're so right.
And I have a constant fear of like, I'm probably still missing out on something.
or
big time.
what am I missing? Or if you can get to a spot of being like, oh man, wait, why am I free right now? Why am I not doing something? What am I missing? What did I forget? You know, and then, it is nerve wracking. I had that happen the other day. I got caught up with editing videos and then things weren't ready to publish yet. So I was like, wait a second, why do I have free time? You know, and of course, as a business owner, you can find something immediately to take your time. But yeah, it's always nerve wracking to just know, like, because the IRS or whoever, the comptroller has no problem knocking or calling and being like, hey, you owe us $100 for this, that, or the freaking other. So, man, it's just you got to stay on top of that stuff.
And those late fees, they stack up real fast.
Man, God, and they have no problem. Just a day after, boom, $50, and then you're using a credit card because we're in the 21st century, $1 fee. It's like, man, screw you. We've all been there. It happens. Don't feel bad if you get in that position, but please stay on top of your taxes. And then but yeah, like we were talking about, it's hard, and I've been here so many times. It's hard to consider being like, I can't pay someone $150 a month to keep track of this stuff. I just need to do a better job. But you're trying to run a brick and mortar. You're trying to make sure the cows are in the next paddock. Do y'all have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet, but I mean, in my position, it's like, crap, what are the kids getting into? And then we got to worry about dinner, and then there's something broke on the side of the house. Like, there's so much stuff that just stack, and the grass is getting taller, blah, blah, blah. There's so much coming at you at all times, but that's kind of the gamble, the risk of becoming your own boss and starting your business, because you accept and take on all those other problem, so to say, or task. But man, there's no limit, there's no ceiling on you, there's no cap, and you could put a resupply in every single state if you wanted to, you know. But that comes with each state having its own tax problems, with its own whatever problems. But yeah, I've talked a little bit about having employees and my experience with it, and it just flat out, I was just too chicken to hire somebody because of the how you talked about with the taxes and everything else, all the responsibilities that come with that. But then the liability, you know, you put someone in a heavy piece of heavy equipment or a truck, and you have them close to people's houses or their farms, and just so much liability that goes on. But then it was just, I don't know which one was scarier, worrying about their taxes and getting them paid and having something for them to do at all times, or worrying about sending somebody to someone else's property and then doing, you know, extreme amount of work. So I'll just tell you the truth. I was too chicken. I just backed out, and I was like, you know what? I will do less with just these two hands to make sure that I'm a little bit more protected, you know. And I mean, that's what an LLC is for. It removes the business from you. But I had my, I guess you can call him a lawyer, the guy that helped me file my LLC. And he was like, Levi, let's get this out there. If you do something, like you drive your tractor through someone's garage or whatever, you back into the person that you're working for and hurt them, if you do that, you can't remove yourself from this problem. But if you hire Joe Smith and he does those, you are safe. And then so it's like, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. I mean, of course, I never wanted to have anybody or anything hurt, but man, it's just so scary, the responsibilities as a business owner. And then so that was kind of another, just something that I thought of while considering, like, is this something that I really want to do for the rest of my life? Is there something better and less liable, less everything? And but I will say, I asked my dad about the employee thing because he no longer runs that trash company I was talking about. He just does different things. He had a farm for a little bit and hired different employees, and then he has someone that always helps him do office stuff. And he downloaded, is ADP, is that the security company or is that the tax company? Anyways, he bought an app, and it's like $100 a month, and he can fill out W-2s on it. He can pay his employees, wirelessly, no checks, whatever, through an app. And he said he saved like having to deal with an actual bookkeeper, and he can just run it all through his phone. So maybe that'll work for somebody if you're looking to go down that path. But man, it's just daunting. And I know I've seen y'all's team pictures and stuff. You have a couple of employees working for you. So I envy you on some things, but I don't envy you on that. But man, so just getting back into it, I kind of want to know more of your personal experience with the farm and this, let's say, new age of farming, regenerative. I can't say that word.
Regenerative.
Yes,
yeah.
That word. Thank you. And then so you told me about the cows. You told me about the animals. Are y'all putting any crops in the ground?
Yeah, so our cover crops are basically a blend of different things.
Okay.
Sorghum, maize, oats. Just kind of depends on the climate
Okay.
of that season.
Okay.
We were gardening on a small scale. This year we've both been so slammed that we haven't.
Well, don't worry, because everyone else's, including my garden, has just been burned alive.
Scorched, yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't miss out on anything this year.
Yeah.
But do y'all have the tractor equipment that, what do they call it, no-till?
Yeah.
Do y'all have to run that stuff?
So we do not do no-till.
Okay.
We don't till.
Okay.
But most no-till practices utilize chemicals.
Okay.
And we use no agrochemicals
Gotcha.
whatsoever. Basically, the cattle are our tillers.
Okay, cool.
Essentially.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then, so are you doing any, you did just talk about maize and everything else. So are you able to keep something in the ground at all times throughout the entire year? Cool. That's awesome. And then I just thought it was interesting on these different documentaries that I've seen that two different points. They do have to run more expensive equipment, more expensive tractors and the drills and everything behind them. And it's not just a disc plow that's going to till up the soil and then they can go back and throw a cedar box on top of it. But it's pretty cool to see this new age of equipment coming out. But I do understand it's an undertaking to get invested into that. But man, it really seemed to be paying off for these guys. And this one gentleman, I think he may have been from Oklahoma. He could have been from Texas. I can't remember. But he was kind of an advocate for this regenerative farming because he explained it he'd go to different town halls, whether it be somewhere like Owl Park or Walters or Bowie's, places like that, and try to get more farmers on board because he explained their business model to them of the government giving farmers subsidies for their crops and basically creating a bubble in the market. Say something was worth 50 cents and then the government's putting another 50 cents on it and then now you can sell it for $1. And he said, guys, y'all are basically working off of government welfare. And he said, here's my yearly statement of profit from 2016. And then he showed his statement from 2020, and back then he did normal the standard farming. Just pathetic. He was barely getting by. And then his number over here was triple the amount. He had tripled the size of his farm, his profit, I'm sure his expenses too. But he said, I got off, basically, it sounds bad to say, but got off the government's tit, basically. And then he said, I've been able to make a real profit. I make actual good products for the people I sell to. And he said, I just don't rely on the government anymore. They're not my number one customer anymore.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. But I do understand you really gotta be ready to invest to go that way, because you can't run an old John Deere 4440 with a disc plow on the back to do it this way. You gotta get a little bit newer equipment. But hopefully more people are starting to adopt this and learn from it. But anyways, man, let's see.
Well, I was just going to add,
Yeah.
a lot of the struggles that farmers have, you mentioned your friend, he could probably get more money if he sold direct to consumer or through someone locally.
Yeah.
But then you're asking farmers to not only farm or raise, beef or whatever, which is already beyond a full-time job.
Yeah.
You're asking them to learn how to market. You're asking them to show up to farmers markets, to handle all the processing, to learn social media, to learn advertising. You're asking them to do 10 jobs in one, which is what our struggle is right now. We have to do everything to secure our market.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a lot easier for farmers, even though they might not get as much selling on the commodities market. At least it's a secure market, and they know what they're going to get at the end of the day. There's, in a sense, a lot more risk involved with what we're doing.
There is, and then that's like that, the classic more risk, more reward. Hopefully, should be the end goal of like you're willing to put yourself out there more and get it. But it is, but it's hard for some. Your general farmer is 50 to 80 years old, and so Facebook, you're lucky if you can keep up with them on Facebook if they're even involved with that. But man, it's kind of one of those things of the culture's changing and everything and everybody's changing with it. And I heard a funny story. It was a long time ago, but a friend of mine I used to work with, he actually did, let's just say, programming at our factory job. And his grandparents were telling their friends about it or something, and they said, don't you work with computers? We were telling them that you work with computers at the factory. And he said, well, technically, yes, I do, but every job anywhere in the entire world now works with computers now. So it is one of those things that just like we were talking about, not really wanting to hire the tax person or not wanting to shell out that little bit of extra money to do that. But man, if they could get a social media person, or if they could get their grandson or daughter to teach them, hey, how can we do this themselves? It's kind of keeping up with the culture type of thing. And it sucks to say that you have to, but that's showbiz, baby, is the same.
Totally. Well, and getting the consumers bought in.
Yeah.
So, we talked about the importance of being able to communicate what you do. Why is your product valuable? But at the end of the day, we all like to buy food that's affordable.
Yes.
Right? But the problem is, like, whether you're buying our meat or even our products at the store or like your services, like you were saying, there is a premium, but people don't understand where that's coming from. But I like this statistic, and it's that for every $1 we spend on food, we spend $2 on healthcare. So the more you invest in cheap food, the more you're going to have to pay for it in the long run. Yeah. So you are investing in your health. And, I made this Instagram reel a couple of weeks ago on our farm account about why our ground beef is about $2 more than grass-fed and finished ground beef at Walmart. Okay. And it's gotten a lot of positive feedback. But you're like $2 extra for hundreds of hours that we put into working with these animals to like prioritizing their health, the soil health, your health. Like, and when you think about like $2 is nothing. Yeah. Like the value add of that is so beyond $2. You know what I mean?
For sure. And then it's so hard for someone like just struggling to keep up with inflation and whatever right now to look at that. And I've been completely guilty of it, looking at steaks or whatever and being like, well, this one's okay, let's say ground beef, because steaks are not cheap right now. But ground beef package would be like $7.63, but then this one was, $6.93 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna grab that one. It's just a little bit less meat. But man, when you really sit down and think about it, it's like exactly what you said. I can remember my wife being, we were checking out at United one time, and she said, yeah, this is pretty expensive, but so is a heart transplant, so you got to really think about it. And, you just see the average consumer, the healthcare, or someone that's normally in the American healthcare system, like it's not a healthy way. It's not sustainable, clearly, because you see people's livelihoods just plummet. Right. And it could be whether they're smokers or, horrible eaters, and you just attack yourself. But our whole world is set up to do that. Like, just keep feeding it, and then buying from the beast. But luckily, we have people like you that are trying to break the mold, and give people, you're not holding a gun to anybody and being like, you have to buy my product. You're giving another option, which luckily is humanely raised, healthy for you, and your store's really cool to go to. I was curious, and we can get on this topic now, of for anyone that hasn't seen their store, it's very aesthetically pleasing. Like, you're very with it, with the style, with the brick kind of exposed, and then just the tables that you use to display your stuff. The shelves are nice. And then, like, did you do any crash course of like learning, or did you go to classes or pay anybody to teach you how to do this, or did you just Google what a good shop looks like? How did you get your store to look like it does now?
Well, we kind of winged it.
Okay, cool.
But I knew going into it, this store has got to look good for people to get in the door.
Yeah.
Like, sustainability isn't going to sell itself, especially in North Texas. So it was a priority, but also we were balling on a budget, as we say. Yeah. And so we built everything ourselves.
Cool.
So we just did what we could with what we had. And we lucked out. I mean, the building we didn't know there was brick underneath. There was walls upon walls in there. It like used to be a medical clinic.
Oh God.
And we just started kind of taking down the walls, and oh my gosh, there's brick.
Cool.
This is perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that look a lot. And then y'all have like a lot of black pipe for shelves and stuff, right? And then so just made that and put some cool wood on top of it and stuff.
The cheap wood.
There you go. There you go. But it helps clearly your husband's handy and knows how to work tools and stuff. Do you tag along with that, or you just let him take the reins on building stuff?
I was the helper, but yeah,
cool.
He very much took
cool.
the
And that for sure helps, just being able to do shit yourself. You save so much money, and then I get into a bind sometimes of wanting to do too much by myself, and then my wife or maybe other people be like, just hire that out. We don't need to be worrying about how tall the grass is when we got kids to feed and businesses to run and stuff like that. So one of those things you just kind of learn to balance. But the more you can do and can afford to do by yourself, whether it be building shelves or tearing down walls, man, you just got to use your resources,
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I keep up with y'all on social media now, and you're just very... I'm not going to call it trendy. You're just very with it, and then so do you just have a knack for that? Does that come naturally? Because like your colors are right, your fonts are right, all your social media posts are just right on the money. Like you're very, you draw the customer in. You show a good experience just through your social. Did you learn from anybody?
Yeah, I did marketing in undergrad, and I think I learned through trial and error. I tried other little side hustles before we got into any of this. Like I used to sell salsa, all this other stuff.
Cool.
You just kind of start to figure out what looks good, what doesn't look so good, what do people respond to well, what do they not respond to well. But I'd say the number one thing that people can do to improve their Instagram feed, for example, I'm not on like TikTok and Snapchat. I'm not that with it. I know. I know. But is using presets.
Okay.
Are you familiar with what?
Yeah, because my wife is a photographer, so she has been actually building her own presets right now.
Awesome.
Because she's got a new space at 9th Street, so she's working with new light, new wall material and stuff. So
good for her.
Yeah, I know about the photography world a little bit.
Yeah. That's awesome. But that can do volumes for people in terms of making your feed look better.
Gotcha.
And it needs to look good to bring people in.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love writing. And so that's where, if I don't do this so much on Resupply's account, but on Refarm's account, every caption is like a mini blog post.
Okay.
And our goal is education.
There you go.
And if I can write something in a way that hooks people in, if you can present a podcast in a way that hooks people in, people want to learn, but
Yeah.
unfortunately we live in a time where things have to be packaged a certain way
Yes.
to get them to grab on, and you just learn by doing it
Yeah.
and measuring the output.
I gotcha. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that. And then people have asked me before, like, why do you want to do long podcasts? Because normally they're about 3 hours long is the normal episode. And then I've heard it from other podcast hosts that I admire that there's a real calling for, or not, but like a real want and a need for longer drawn out conversations of really learning who people are rather than these 10, 20, 30 second burst of TikTok or Instagram reels. And I kind of had someone, I'd say, ridicule me. I was on a podcast group on Facebook asking some questions. And anyways, they're like, what's your success rate with these long episodes? And I said, look, I'm building what I like to build.
Yeah.
And it gives everybody the story or enough time to get their story out. And then they're like, I just don't like long podcasts. I'm like, well, you're not my perfect customer then,
Yeah.
fine. Stay in your own lane. But I do want to be a part of this breaking the mold of 10, 20 second burst, and you give it a like, maybe a follow, but then you don't even pay attention to them anymore. Like, I really want people to have just a platform to talk, and there's no, of course we want to know about you and your business, but there's no real like, just script written out, and I just like to riff, talk about normal stuff, talk about business stuff, and then just get out of this story type of setting and Amazon Prime type of crap,
Like instant gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the number one thing about running your own business is realizing I'm not going to make everyone happy. If I'm making everyone happy, then I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
And that's been incredibly hard for me. I'm a mega people pleaser. Starting Resupply, I felt like I was walking on eggshells the first 6 months trying to make everybody happy. I know our products are like a little bit more expensive because they're organic and non-toxic, but I was losing money in the beginning because I didn't want to charge people. I just like wanted people to love me and love the store. And it made me a really bad business owner.
Yeah.
And I've had to just be like, suck it up. Like, I'm going to get negative feedback sometimes. The store isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea. And that's okay. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. But initially it was like, it would keep me up for days if I heard one negative comment.
Yeah. And just be brewing on it until like I talk to my wife, you talk to your husband and be like, I can't believe Sally Johnson said that thing. But now just let it go. Maybe it doesn't affect you. Maybe it does. I don't know. But yeah, you learn to handle those things.
Totally.
But I was told this by someone in the exact same field as me that kind of took me under his wing, and he said, because I'd have to go bid jobs, and maybe they'd have 2 or 3 other excavation contractors out there, and they'd weigh their options of prices and time and everything. And he said, if you're getting every single bid that you put in, you're not bidding enough. And I was like, okay, boom, okay, got it, because I was getting a lot of them, and I was doing that, like, I need to be affordable so everyone can work with me. And discounting myself, discounting my services, like I've learned it so much through my own experiences, but then with all these other awesome guests that I've had, that in the beginning, not everybody, but almost everyone is guilty of not charging enough. And it's like, well, I don't want to be greedy, or I don't want to, I want to be fair, but fair is not just keeping your lights on, not just being able to pay your mortgage. Fair is living the same life that you want to live, that you see, maybe it's someone else that you admire, look up to, and be like, oh, I do like their new car. I would enjoy if I got a car like that. And not feeling bad for it. You shouldn't feel bad for wanting nicer. Maybe y'all want 200 or 300 more head of cattle, whatever it is, whatever your desires and wants to. Like, you're completely legally allowed to want those things. And then that comes from having to charge a little bit more. And I think me and my wife were just talking about this last night. If you charge that extra couple dollars on, say, your meat, or a couple extra cents per gallon of laundry detergent, whatever it is that you're selling, you can offer a better product and service to them, people that are coming to your store, because you can pay all your bills, because you can pay your taxpayer or your CPA, all these different things, you can provide better just because, you're charging more. And luckily, they are getting a better product from you and your stores. So I just don't like the whole, well, I feel guilty because of this or that. And it's like, but, you want and you need whatever you have or whatever you do, but just don't feel bad for requiring people to pay you your worth, and that's another thing, people. If you want to go into business, learn your worth and set your bar immediately, because it's kind of hard to just go and start a path if you don't know where you're going, and if you say, like, if you are going to start a backhoe company or something, be like, I want to charge, I don't know, $150 an hour. Maybe at first you do have to start in at $75 an hour to just get people accustomed to you, but at least I'm going to keep learning these skills. I'm going to keep doing these things in order to get myself to that 150, so I can keep new tires on that, truck, trailer, backhoe, everything. I can keep the motor oil new in it, everything. And because if you stay in the weeds, if you stay in the $65, $75 an hour, you're not going to be able to keep up with anything, and everything's going to be broke, and you're going to be, broken down on your customer's property, and you're not going to be providing a good service to them. So if you ever hire somebody or go buy something and be like, why is this so expensive? Walmart's so much cheaper. I can get it cheaper on Amazon. Well, it's probably paying for a good reason, and so set your worth, set your bar high, and I hope everyone that goes into business wants to do just great things for themselves and other people. So that's another thing. Do you keep up with Dave Ramsey at all? Do you know who that is?
I know who it is, yeah.
And he has a pretty good plan set out. And one thing I like at the back end of the steps, he's got like 8 or 10 steps. And at the later stages of the process that you go through with him, he opens the door for you to donate or to give back, or he wants you to be in a financial position to where you can help others. First and foremost, you help yourself. Make sure you and your house is contained and taken care of. But he wants you to get to a position to help your favorite charity, to help your community or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, we all should be in a position like that. And you should want to be able to not just get by, So just one of those things to chew on. I hope everyone wants to get out of the weeds and do better for themselves, and don't feel bad for your pricing, because someone's paying more for maybe something worse out there. So
yeah.
Anyways, but
that's great advice.
Yeah, you can just get off on tangents and being like, why aren't they taking care of themselves better? I'm their friend and I want more for them, and they're, being bad to themselves, whatever. But don't feel bad for being $2 more expensive than Walmart, because you're probably $10 better than them, or your beef, whatever. So, yeah.
It's difficult too, because accessibility is really important to me, in terms of, I want everyone to have access to healthy food. I want everyone to have access to the products we sell in the store. But it's just a very fine line between literally like keeping our lights on every month.
Yeah.
And, that's the turmoil that any business owner faces.
For sure.
Yeah,
and there's so many different ways to get around that. And you see people on Shark Tank or other shows, or just ways that you can keep up with people, but you'll see them getting ready to take that next big leap of faith, because they're like, hey, we've been doing this, whether it be just one store in Wichita Falls or then 2 and one here and one there. And man, we're ready to just go national. And that's what people like to do. And they're like, we're tired of just getting by and keeping the lights on just hardly. And then it takes money to play the game, And so that's what some of those people are there for. Some are just fucking drowning and need all the help from Mark Cuban or whoever it is. But that is a normal problem to have as an entrepreneur. But I hope everyone's willing to get out of that position, and want a nicer car or want nicer shoes, whatever it is, and a better business, and
invest in your community.
Exactly.
Because you think about it, you spend your money here, your tax dollars stay here. They're making schools better, they're making streets better.
Exactly.
I think I think everyone probably wants and likes the idea of supporting small local businesses. But when it actually comes to putting your dollar where your values are, that's where there's a disconnect that I found. And so it's like, okay, how do we get people over this hurdle? Like, don't shop on Amazon.
Exactly.
Shop in the store.
And it's I think y'all are taking a good approach at that, being able to tell your story. You're putting almost a blog post under each post on Instagram. You know, you're really trying to draw in that connection, and that's something that I kind of aim for with this podcast is if they can hear of who Kacie is and be like, I heard a 3-hour conversation with her. I really like what she did, X, Y, and Z. She's a cool chick. Her husband sounds cool. We need to go support them. You know what? And then, oh shit, we're low on Tide Pods. Let's go to Resupply instead of going to Walmart real quick. Let's just go check it out. And it's brand awareness and getting yourself out there. And people like to support other people. I know that I do. If I learn a cool story, I'm like, I'm gonna go buy a T-shirt from them or whatever. And so it is, you're taking the right path of getting your name out there, getting your story out there, getting people more connected. And that's just a challenge that all within itself, you're marketing. It's part of the game, and you have to market. So little of people nowadays can survive with just word of mouth, because everyone's going to be talking, whether it be good or bad. But you really got to be active on Facebook. My wife runs a business page, Instagram page, personal page, and I think the big one is a Facebook group where she is interactive, doing giveaways, being, communicating with her girls in the group. Girls on link, guys, don't be weird. But interacting, keeping people engaged, and but she gets great feedback from it. But that's just one of her daily tasks. It's another, just like taking pictures is part of her career and editing pictures, so is staying up on social media and staying connected with people. And people are willing to drive from OKC, from San Antonio, from Colorado, whatever, to come work with her because they're willing to support now that they know who she is. And she's got her story out there just like y'all are doing. So there's a million different ways to do it. And I applaud y'all on how y'all do it. So, what was the hardest thing to get started, whether it be a farm or a brick and mortar? We've talked about some challenges. What was something that just stooped you and your husband that y'all were just like laid down on the couch and said, thank God that's over now that y'all got it done? Anything stand out that we hadn't talked about?
Well, this is probably a different direction than you're expecting, but I would say it's been incredibly challenging for our marriage.
I agree. Yeah. And because y'all are in it together, yes. Correct? Yeah. So that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, it's very difficult, yet also extremely rewarding to work with your partner. But it was very hard for us in the beginning to sort of segment our time to where it's like, okay, this is where we've got our work hats on, and this is when we're going to talk about logistics, talk about finances, and this is when we're not. We're going to be husband and wife and just be together. But when you are an entrepreneur, you just kind of have this like cloud over you. It's the best thing ever, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it is just like this looming like, oh my goodness, like so much could go wrong at any moment. So much is out of your control. It's like month to month, you just don't know what's going to go on. And so it's difficult not to let that like go into your marriage. And then it becomes the thing we talk about all the time. And then we're like stressed out all the time and like money's tight all the time. So that's been really hard. I feel like we're just now getting into a groove where it's like, okay, we're going to, at night when we're having dinner, like no business talk.
Good. Yeah. What? How long have y'all been doing? Let's just say the re-farm. How long? As a team, you and your husband. Team,
yeah. So through probably 3.5 years.
Okay. So it takes some time to learn. One, it's hard enough to do all this stuff by yourself and then learn a good routine or I guess a good routine, but then to have to manage it with someone else, I've always been afraid of taking on partners or asking someone to go into business with me. I couldn't imagine not being able to walk away from my partner at the end of the night, because some people that are friends or acquaintances that go together are like, fine. All right, let's just leave the office. I'm tired of dealing with you. You're pissing me off. And then, but you share the same bed as your business partner, so you can't get away. And whether it be, personal arguments or business disagreements, man, y'all got to figure that out, not just for the jeopardy of the business or the longevity of your business, but for your relationship as well. Man, that's a whole nother animal.
And ideally, like, you want a partner in business who complements your skills and your strengths, right?
Yeah.
And he does that. And I'd say the most simple way to put it is, like, I'm very idealistic. I'm all about vision, big picture. Aesthetic is very important to me. And he's extremely practical. Like, everything's by the number, by the book.
Good.
And I need that. But also it causes some, like, really intense, not conflict in an unhealthy way, but like just headbutting of like, okay, who's right and who gets to be right in this situation, and so it's a form of therapy, I think, in its own way.
And then what would be the opposite of therapy? Just chaos, I guess. Totally. And then they have to work together. Give me 1 second. I'm going to run to the bathroom. Quick break. I'll be right back. And we're back. But to stay on the husband and wife and business partners whole genre of questions, okay, so first one is, do y'all have any other partners in the business? Okay, so it's just husband and wife. Man, I can just see it being a headache, but so beneficial at the same time, because I've never had partners in anything that I've done, but my dad did with this very large company, and I've seen it go very, very well, and I've seen it go very, very bad as well. And then it's sad to say that business can bring out the ugliness in friendships, and I don't know how it would be in an actual relationship where there's not just a friendship, but love and, husband and wife things. So, man, I don't know if it'd be, I assume that it would be better than just a random friend from high school or something that you go into business with. But
some days.
I mean, because like we said, you just can't, you can't just walk away. You're going to show up to the same house, the same farm, the same businesses, everything's the same. I couldn't believe when I worked at the factory that I used to, there'd be husbands and wives that, worked at the same place. They drove together. They made sure they could work in two different departments, but then they would like make sure their lunches and breakfasts and breaks, everything was the exact same. Then they'd get in the same car, drive to the same house. I was like, I can't believe y'all can do that. But some people can, some people can't. Like, I'm sure me and my wife could figure it out. But I'm just curious, like, you don't have to get into any fights or anything, but I know how it feels like. I'll reach out to my wife and be like, what's your thoughts on this business thing that I'm going through? Or I wrote a proposal the other day. I was like, can you look through this? And, she can give me advice, but she has no final say over something I actually do. What is it like being with your partner, and that is also your husband, of, he does have 50% say exactly like you do. So is that hard is it the balance? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, we're still figuring.
Yeah.
I think it's helped us a little bit in that we've started to kind of separate, in that I get to make executive decisions when it comes to the store, and he makes executive decisions when it comes to the farm.
Okay.
But it's really just a constant conversation.
Okay.
Again, I mean, we're checking in every day, every other day. Where are things at?
Gotcha.
How can we improve? And we kind of set deadlines for one another, boundaries for one another. But yeah, we're still learning, and it's been really hard to kind of prioritize.
Yeah.
I have several, we say, off-farm jobs. Just because for me, it was nice to have a little bit of secure income. I work part-time for a nonprofit. Cool. I teach at OU and get paid part-time.
Cool.
So having that as a little bit extra of a security blanket has helped us in navigating this. But even with that, it makes we're so busy, and someone has to be on the farm all the time. That, when we were getting the Norman store open, and I was teaching up there, I was staying with my sister who lives there for sometimes weeks at a time, and we'd just see each other on one-off days where we could make space for it, and that was really
basically
hard.
Like you're dating, what is that called? long distance relationship,
married,
like when you're dating in college and stuff
Totally.
again. God,
Yeah.
but you're married. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is tough. And then I can remember, I'm pretty positive I emailed you right when y'all were in the process of getting the Norman store started, and it took forever for you to get back. But you're like, I'm sorry, we've been so busy. It's going to be a while. I'm like, I completely understand because I've seen the Wichita Falls place. If you're doing anything an inkling close to that, you need some time, and it's going to be an undertaking, and I'm sure it is. But yeah, for sure, a different life to juggle when you're both, equal partners in something. And then like, it's not like you already had it going and then you married him and brought him in on the business. Yeah, it sounds like y'all started from
Building it
scratch together. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And but sometimes it takes two heads or two sets of hands
Yes.
to do stuff. I heard the good expression a long time ago, more hands equals lighter work. And I like that. I think about that as well.
Definitely.
But did I just cut you off?
No. I was just going to say, I think when you decide to start a business, for me, there was this expectation of like, okay, years 1 and 2 are going to be really, really hard. But then, we're going to hit a groove and things are going to be great. But I don't know that that's true.
Yeah, I think the groove is to learn the chaos.
Yes.
And just ride that chaos.
Totally.
And it doesn't come in the form of a white horse with a unicorn type of thing. It's kind of like a black horse with flames on its mane, and you
Right.
just got to learn how to strap up
Yeah.
and ride it. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's pure chaos.
Yeah, all the time.
And
But you choose it.
yeah.
And
yeah.
so you love it, and no one's going to love it like you love it.
Exactly. And that's a hard part of hiring people is that, and it was mine as well, especially with the equipment, was that stuff is expensive. And no one's going to baby it and doctor it like I do. And so I'm like, I can't just put anybody in there because you may even know people personally. It's like, yeah, I work for them and I just hopped in this thing. I just ragged it out, blah, blah, blah. No big deal. We used to drive the work truck 100 miles an hour, blah, blah. I can't have that. I'm a small business. I'm not a huge factory. I'm not a huge corporation or a branch of a corporation. Every penny counts. So, but luckily, if you have your partner or your husband or wife in it, they more than likely are going to hopefully cherish things and hold on to things like you do. So,
Totally.
it's all a balance. And that's what I was kind of thinking about a second ago was everything is a balance, and how you're saying that you make executive decisions on X and he does Y. And that's kind of like the give and take. And I've kind of been learning that about our government as well, as like government may want this passed and this party is adamant that this has to happen, but they have to allow their other party to do X, Y, and Z to get the original thing passed. And that's kind of just business or partnerships or relationships that you got to do a little give and take. And
Right.
then that's what, shout out DJ Maniac, I'm talking about you again. He was talking about that with life, with his relationships, it's all a balance. And then he left a pretty well successful arcade bar. And then they started talking about, okay, what am I going to leave with? And what are y'all going to keep? And then, but they were able to stay above board and be like, okay, I want this and this and this. And they're like, okay, well, we have to keep this because he bought it with you, blah, 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 and things. And he said, okay, that's fine. Let's work together. Let's stay friends.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a responsibility thing
Definitely.
that you have to take on if you're willing to keep that bridge. If you just want to burn the fucking bridge, you can say, F it, and then walk out backwards with your fingers up in the air. But it's all about balance. And I'm pretty positive that you and your husband want to stay married to each other. So you got to learn to give and take. And like y'all did, he works the farm, you work the offices, and y'all fill in between each other's gaps in the
Totally.
meantime. So,
Yeah. Ramble and Co. So Catherine, who runs Ramble, their Instagram yesterday just posted something about how sometimes, well, all of the time, it's often more important to be kind than to be right.
Yes.
And that was just such a powerful reminder for me yesterday, especially just like in the culture we're living in right now, everybody just wants to be right.
Yes.
And I mean, I catch myself feeling
Yeah,
the same way.
for
I
sure.
get like really up on my high horse and I'm like, my way is the right
Yeah.
way. But I mean, that's what, you know, partners, whether business or romantic or otherwise, are for keeping us in
Yeah,
check. And like, it's
exactly.
not about being right. And sometimes we just all need to lay down our pride.
Yeah.
And there are normally two sides to everything.
Exactly. Dr. Phil always says, no matter how flat you smash a pancake, there's always still two sides of the story of the pancake, whatever. So, yeah, it's just a balance like we were talking about. But yeah, shout out to Ramblin' Company. I was just shouting them out last week because our guests hadn't heard of them, and they're just super cool, Wichita Fallsy. And I was telling like, you know, you see something trendy, whether it be like DFW shirts that are like in the X, you know, and then she's taking it to WFTX and stuff like that.
So
I just
cool.
really like that. And then we not grew up, but I used to kind of run around with her younger brother, I think, and just super awesome family, and I like that company a lot. And I actually have one of their screen printed pieces of art. Someone was selling art in there, and I bought one of those. Just
Nice.
really like it. But yeah, so you're not, just random question here, you're not from Wichita Falls originally, but you'd come here often. How does it feel? How has the community accepted y'all and your company? And then how does it feel to be a small business owner here? What's your experience? Is it positive? Is it negative? Do you have any advice for someone wanting to go into business, especially downtown? It's kind of a hot spot right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. Overall, we've been incredibly well received.
Good,
Like, I've been
good.
so grateful. You know, we had heard stories from people coming in, like, you know, sometimes Wichita Falls is where businesses come to die and things like this. And I was like,
Unfortunately, they had some merit to that saying.
yeah. And, you know, there's beauty in that it's big enough to support small businesses, but it's small enough to really have that community feel.
Yeah,
And, you know, everyone
yeah.
kind of knows everyone, or like maybe one degree of separation. But yeah, we feel so well embraced. I think downtown, you know, in the next 3 to 5 years is going to pop off.
I
and
think so.
like, we're not there yet, but I think we're on our way there. And I want to encourage people on the other side of town to like come downtown
Yes.
more, because so many folks are like, you know, downtown's so awesome, but I never go over there because I don't need to go over there. But I'm like, there are so many cool businesses
Yes.
down here who really need your support.
Exactly.
So it's been great. I think we need it to be better, like in all transparency. Like, in order for us to survive, we need to be doing better. And
Yeah.
there's been so much support. We have great regular customers. We have lots of good hype around resupply.
Good.
But, you know, especially with inflation and it being summertime, you know, we've kind of hit this lull that's like, okay, you know, we gotta get people like in the door and get people to downtown.
Yeah.
And, you know, we lost Gypsy Kit, who was next door to
Yeah.
us, and that was devastating. That's like really just kind of brought down traffic
Yeah.
on our block. But
I can see that. Yeah. Cause they're very popular. And then y'all being right next door, it's like, oh, well, we just say, hey, what is this new place
Yeah.
right here? I've heard of them on Instagram, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that does suck. Hopefully, did you see the news just, I think
Yeah.
last night?
New taco place.
Yeah. My uncle's
Yeah,
Me
Me
Tio's
Too.
is coming in, and then that dude has had some pretty successful restaurants around here.
Awesome.
And oddly enough, at that factory gig that I worked, they have a canteen, cafeteria type of thing there. And at one point, I said, hey, contractors that have been running the cafeteria are quitting. We're getting a new contractor and blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, it was the owner of Vaca Loca and Me Tio's and everything, and Maplewood. He's got all kinds of stuff. So I learned about him there, and then I kept reading that article. I was like, hey, cool. He's got a good track record. So hopefully he stays in there and keeps it going, but and then get y'all's traffic up as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was talking with DJ Maniac because he's just right around the corner from y'all. And he's basically in between me and you, I think. And anyways, he was just really encouraging the city to get more involved with drawing more businesses in, maybe out-of-town businesses, or encouraging people from Wichita Falls to get into downtown and then help build it up. He's the only entertainment that's not, specifically a bar. He has a cereal bar, but he's not, running alcohol through there. But he wanted to see a little bit more involvement with the city and have them get a little more skin in the game to encourage people. And we, like you talked about it, y'all had to do a lot of demo to your building, and it had been 20,000 different things probably since 1950, whenever it was built. But he was really wanting to see the city help encourage and bring more people here, and kind of set up like a district thing where there'd be shopping district and entertainment, and then whatever it is, office, and then he really had some good intake on it because he's really put a lot of time in down here. He goes to 8th Street, the old 8th Street Coffee House every single day, the old bank, and starts up Maniac's Mansion. So he's got a lot of skin in this game, and I liked his inputs, and I think the city does need to take a little bit more. And they like to talk big, but walking's a little bit more important than talking. So I'd like to see them do a little bit more, rather than just the art walks, rather than just Loco for Cinco and the taco stuff. Like, let's get some businesses going. And I keep coming back to this. You talked about someone maybe not liking your store, and then them posting on social media, and it would bother you. Well, this one really had nothing to do with me, and it was like on Rants and Raves of Wichita Falls, but someone commented on Facebook and said, oh, it was over the goat scooters, those little, and then they're only downtown. So the whole conversation was about downtown, and some random person said, people still go downtown in Wichita Falls. And I was like, that's a person that's not connected with what's happening, because I think you're 100% right. In the next, maybe if things are slow in the next 5 years, this place is going to be completely different. And I seriously say that, I wish when I was in high school, I would have came and bought a building down here, because you probably could have paid $5 for something and got it. And then now people are realizing, there is a little bit more interest in downtown, and let's start hiking these prices up. And then you run into DJ Maniac also was talking about this. The people that rent have a little bit harder time sustaining and staying here, because if you can find a spot in a good location, then just like you have to do a lot of work in order to get it right. And especially y'all and Maniac's Mansion, because y'all have the aesthetic look and the right flow to things. And you got a lot, what I'm getting at is you have to put a lot of work into these things, where if you owned a building, it would be a little bit more worth it, just having the actual equity.
Which this is very unique to Wichita Falls, and probably my only, I wouldn't say complaint, but it's unorthodox the way that downtown Wichita Falls is run, in that the owners of properties very rarely invest in their properties, and they depend on renters to do that. And most cities that I've lived in or been a part of, that's not the case. The owners make the property worthwhile. Sure, the renter might need to pay for cosmetic fixes and things like that.
Getting it where they want it,
Right. But you can't, no one can afford that.
Exactly.
And these buildings are so dilapidated, so large. I mean, our electric bill, because we rent a huge building and we only use a very small portion of it, our electric bills this summer have been insane.
Oh, I bet.
And you just can't get ahead when you're dealing with that. And so unless we want all of this, outside money coming in, which to an extent that's good, but how awesome would it be for more local people to start local businesses? But no one has the capital to do that. And so you're right in that the city, somebody needs to say, hey, this is worth investing in, giving people a leg up, because what's happening right now is not working.
Exactly. It's like basically burning a candle at two ends, and I've come to learn more and more about this downtown area the more active I've got into it, because a couple weeks ago, downtown posted on Instagram that there was a new building for sale. They were helping get it on the market, whatever. And it's over, I think, right down the road from you, right next door to the library and a theater. And really pretty building. It's kind of cottagey looking. And I called them the day of and I got in the next day. And I was like telling my wife, okay, if this is a good building, we can afford this price, and we can just put our businesses together. You can have one side, I'll take the whatever, let's do it. Dude, we go in and check this building out, and it is, I'm just going to go on record and say, it's a piece of shit.
Probably needs over $1 million worth of work.
Everything. Oh my God, you can't imagine the amount of work that it needs. And the floor plan was so horrible, and nothing made sense about this. When we start walking upstairs, and it's got this same carpet here, but luckily this is a very firm and good built building. The floor started to flex under our feet, and the carpet started to move because he was like, yeah, the roof's going to need to be replaced. And they had drop ceilings just like this with panels missing, where you could see the leak had just been obliterating everything for years. And then so I'm just thinking, this is going to need a new roof. It's going to need a new second story. And then the whole attraction to this building was the storefront of it. The upstairs, it has a door and 2 windows and a balcony. And my wife was like, could you imagine the pictures I could take on there? I was like, exactly. Let's get in. Let's look at it. Dude, it was all fake. The door was fake. There's no real door. It's just a door screwed to the outside wall, and there's a border wall in between, so you can't even access it. But anyways, yeah, the guy was telling us, they want this amount of money for it, and then we've built business plans for potential buyers. If you put, I think they were talking about anywhere from, and he casually said this, $600,000 to $1,008,008 in this building, you can do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I bet you could. And if you want to go do that, I will buy it immediately from you. But no one else is willing to, because I think we're all in agreement that that's kind of a crock of shit, and it's way easier to say than do. And then that's what a lot of these buildings are coming down to, is that, and I've learned it from that property. People bought these buildings decades and decades ago. The original buyer or builder dies. It gets kind of left into trust of several different, say, grandkids or maybe nieces and nephews, and they don't even live here, and they just let property managers rent it and take care of their tenants while not doing a damn thing to them. And yeah, they fall to pieces. Big Blue, I don't know if you know this, Big Blue was uninhabitable a couple of years ago. And someone, shout out to, we don't have to say his name, but he's an awesome man, not from here, was willing to be like, okay, I'll put the millions and millions and millions of dollars into it, because this is a place that needs to be running. This is a building that needs to be going. But yeah, people have just let this place go to shit and expect you or DJ Maniac to put all their hard-earned money into fixing their building. And at any point, they just be like, okay, well, our lease is up. Get the hell out of here. And it just kills me. It absolutely kills me. So it kind of goes back to us talking about a business plan and everything. You got to know what you're getting into, and you got to know what you're biting off. And
which is really hard, though, with these buildings. Like, we knew we'd have to spend a little bit, but we had no idea. I mean, what we'd have to spend even on the front 750 square feet to make our store what it is. I mean, and we looked at buying, so similar to you, we were going to all these spots, but I mean, all of them would easily over $1 million.
Yeah.
And who can ever get out from under that?
Exactly. And that's why you may see successful people or successful companies, and you're like, why did they give so much equity away? Or why do they have 43 partners? Why did they do? Well, come to find out, the world is not set up for you to succeed as a small business owner. So some people do go the route of being like, I will take help from any and everybody, whether it be, that investor from China that I've only talked to over email, or whether it be Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. People are willing to do it, but you lose more equity of your company, and you have to have more outside inputs. And it's part of that balance of what you're willing to do to get your end goal. And then I'm just like, I'm not willing to give away my company or my equity of something that how much work you and your husband have put into it. If someone was just willing to, give you $100,000 to get 33 1/3% of your business, it's like, no, because you don't have all the sweat, blood, and tears that I've put in and my husband put in. Not mine, your husband. But, they're just not going to hold the same amount of value to it. And that's your baby. You've put so much into that in your farm. But I'm kind of disappointed the same, but with the city's aspect, and not just the city of Wichita Falls, also the people that own buildings and different properties down here. But I will say there is some programs that is partially involved with the city. Some are private, some are state funded, and some are city funded, and county, sorry. But there's like the 4B board, which will help with, it's kind of all just not a joke, but more hurdles for a small business owner to jump through. And the 4B board is big on helping business owners that buy crappy buildings one of the main targets is get their fire suppression system up to code. But you can get all the paperwork started on them and then say, okay, I'm building this building, or I'm buying this building. It's going to need all this work. You have to pay the upfront cost. And then once it is up to code, they will reimburse you up to like 80%. So you still got a shitload of money in the game and a lot of skin in it, where they're like, we'll give you a little bit. And then when I was really considering that building down there on Indiana, I was talking to my dad about it, and he said, you need to check out, I forget, it's another abbreviated name, but check them out. I'll send you some links. Well, it was all about this whole program was all about helping you get more efficient, whether it be HVAC or a new roof or maybe solar panels, stuff like that, to get you more efficient on your energy consumption. Maybe insulation, that type of stuff. Well, I was thinking, well, hell yeah, if they're going to give grants out for this stuff, if the state of Texas is going to put this money out there, I'll do it. If they're going to help me, no way. These were special loans specifically targeted with huge interest rates on them. And it's like, I'll just get a fucking credit card if y'all are going to charge me the same 26-30%. Like, I don't even want to work with y'all, And then, but I did look into it. There is some grants out there, but man, you got to be a really good applicant. And resupply would be if y'all were to, apply for some different state grants and everything. But man, it is just jumping through hurdles and finding more and more problems, whether it just be the 700, almost 800 square foot that y'all are using, or the whole damn building needs to be reworked, and the wiring sketchy, the floors trying to fall through on you, not in your building, but the other one. And
well, same, our building, roof leaks. I mean, it's everything.
And then you have to deal with a landlord, and then the landlord's going to be dragging his feet because he's not getting the rain dripping on him or his product. So it is, man, it's hard to really get a leg up, but it goes back to that gamble that we were talking about, going into business for yourself. So it's all these different roles and problems that you willingly take onto yourself in order to hope, this is why I want to encourage people to want bigger and better, is because it's going to chew you up and it's going to shit you out, and it will if you let it. But if you're out there increasing your prices, doing better work, and then you're able to put that new roof on, and add a better experience, or, tag, he can have more arcades and have a better building, whatever it is. So you got to get out of the weeds, man. You do. And it's hard. It seriously is hard. And then if you're wondering, that's why people do sketchy business deals. And that's why they end up giving majority equity to somebody else that has more money, that maybe they got a earlier start than me or you did. So they have more equity in the game. Anyways, it's just all a juggling act. But to get off of our sad horse, I wanted to know, I thought it was interesting that our friend Britt uses you as a wholesaler for her products. Who does the wholesaler use as a wholesaler for your business? Like, how did you go about finding companies that you wanted to work for? Because you're not in the back stirring up, whether it be soaps or shampoos or anything.
We make a lot of our stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. We can get into both. So tell me, how did you find brands that you wanted to work with? Because you're very specific about you wanted to do better and be better. And then after that, let's talk about some of the stuff that you make and your crew makes. So
Yeah. That's a great question. Well, I was very selective, but the cool thing was that there are already so many producers here in Wichita Falls that we had gotten to know through the farmers market.
cool.
And I was like, I trust them. I trust
Okay.
what they're doing. I know they're using quality
So
ingredients.
networking. Okay.
Yeah. And so putting other local vendors into the store was a priority for me.
Okay.
So we've got, I don't know if you know Smarty Plants Herbs, Ruthie and Bo Turnbow.
Wait, do they do the microgreens?
They don't.
Okay,
No,
okay. I'm
but
thinking
we
of
love
someone
those
else.
guys.
Okay, cool.
But then we've got, I don't know if you've heard of Whole Plate Farm. So Sierra, her name's Sierra. She runs a little company called Rooted Bottle and makes all kinds of holistic skin products. And
Okay.
so just plugging in with these people, getting
Okay,
them in
cool.
the store. But then it just came down to really researching other
Okay.
small businesses. So
Okay.
our laundry detergent, for example, we get it from a small business in California, but it's run by a mom with it's just a small mom and pop
Cool.
shop.
Okay.
It's not some big retailer. And
Okay.
essentially, she sends us a 5-gallon bag. We empty it out. We send it back. Same bag.
Okay.
Back and forth.
Cool.
Back and forth.
Cool.
And so just people who value transparency, who
Yeah.
value clean ingredients. And it's been really trial and error because
Okay.
a lot of, I don't know how many natural household products you've used. Some of them don't work super well.
Right. Yeah. There's a reason technically why some of these, whether it be Tide or Dawn dish soap, sometimes get into toxic chemicals because it does take the grease off. It does, take that diesel smell off your hands, whatever it be.
Yeah.
But they jeopardize their customer.
Totally.
So it's finding that balance of taking that grease off or cleaning that duck that they
Yes.
show on the commercials and not killing their consumer.
Totally.
So
yeah.
cool.
And those products exist, but we learned the hard way in that, we bought in bulk, this dish soap, but then customers were saying, hey, this doesn't cut grease.
Okay.
But now we've got a brand. It's stellar. It's natural. It's non-toxic, but it was a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then just researching, huh? And then another thing to get back to how you really like to be transparent and have your story out there in your blog post. You were able to use other people's stories, blog posts, transparency to benefit your customer experience. So good. If y'all are thinking about that, take notes, people. She's giving out good content right now. But yeah, so you just had to just get on the old Google and then
And
find
connect. I mean, contact people. People want to tell their
Cool.
story.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially people who are sort of in this industry that we're in.
Yeah.
And I spend hours on the phone with these
Cool.
creatives and makers who started their own small businesses.
Okay.
And so I've made all of these friends with people who
Yeah.
are now our vendors from,
Yeah,
across
okay.
the country.
And are you people that are local, doing local products? Are you doing any consignment with them, or are you buying wholesale and just marking up like a normal retailer?
Yeah, it depends.
Okay.
It depends on kind of how big they are.
Okay.
With smaller producers, for the most part, I do consignment.
Cool.
So I've got a lot of local vendors on consignment there. And then that way, they're not losing money.
Yeah. Mhm.
From local vendors, I don't take hardly anything. I'm
Right.
not trying to profit off of their
Right.
business. I just want to be a place for them to sell and
Yeah,
make and
for
have a
sure,
home.
for sure. And then I'm trying to do the same with shout out Mythic Roasters, Patrick, love you, bro, and they're the exclusive coffee of Texas Barons
We love
podcast.
Mythic Roasters.
Yes,
They're great.
I have to shout them out all the time and tell them, see them every single Saturday at the farmers market in Wichita Falls, and tell them where you heard them from, Texas Barons podcast. He'll really appreciate it, and I will too. So I get a kickback, or we're working on that. But anyways, yeah. That's good. I like to be in the same position as you, of just putting people on, and then two, really, if I really like the product, like I really like Patrick's coffee, I want people to know about it, you know, and then just like I really like your business, I want people to know about it. And then it's, with you being a good example, I just think it's a good goal for all of us to, and like you said, zero waste is kind of overcomplicated or like a hard goal to unattainable goal, but reducing waste, everybody can participate in that. And then so that's why, in my original email was like, hey, this is something that me and my wife are, interested in. I'm glad to see you doing it, and I want to get your story and your business story out to the world so we can encourage, whether it just be someone being like, I can wash that and reuse that. Whether it just be one time or 2 times, they still make an impact. It's still one, say a container, one less container in the landfill that is going to take decades and decades to break down. Like, just little stories like this and little awareness can just help out a little bit, and then it turns into an avalanche. And then, so that's good that you're putting on other people, and but you still have to make a profit. You still have to keep your lights on, what we always talk about. So there is a markup, but that's business, So, but tell me about some of the products y'all make. I didn't know that you're making anything by hand. I thought everything was bought through your vendors and stuff. So
yeah, we make, so all the bar soap inside is stuff we make. That. We do laundry scent booster, dishwasher rinse aid, hand sanitizer, mouthwash. We're starting to experiment with tallow, hand cream and eczema cream. What
like
else?
Beef tallow?
Okay. It's really good for your skin from our cows.
Interesting. Okay, that was my next question, is if it was from you or not. I only knew it to be like a food grade acceptable release agent, like something similar to WD-40 or grease, and then that's what we had to use at that factory that I worked at, was beef tallow on certain pieces of equipment, because you're legally not allowed to put WD-40 or grease on these things. It has to be tallow because it's food products. But anyways, interesting, cool. So how did you know how to make any of that? Just a simple YouTube? Did you go to any courses to make any of your products? How did it start? What was the first thing you started making?
Oh, the first thing we started making. Well, the first thing I started making was candles. So we do all natural soy candles. Cool. All organic, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was selling those at the farmer's market before too. So that's kind of where it started. But, it goes back to what we were talking about with being able to build your own furniture in the store or demo yourself. More people can DIY. Like, we have more capacity to DIY than we think.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I don't think most people even register that in their minds, like, oh, I need to buy this product. There's no way. You just wouldn't even think to make it. Right. But when you sit down and read, okay, what are in these things?
Yeah.
Most things aren't that complicated.
Yeah, for sure. Or being like so far removed from, say if your husband wasn't handy, being like, I can tear this wall down, I can remodel it, no big deal. But then going on someone's YouTube and being like, oh wait, that's all that he or she did to do X, Y, and Z. Like, okay, I can try that.
Yeah.
Dude, I've had so many, some failed projects, some successful projects, just off of learning from other people's things, of just being like, I kind of know how to do it, and I'm going to research them just a little bit, and then we meet in the middle, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just kind of being self-sufficient.
Totally. And it's a way for us to cut costs down for ourselves and for the consumer. So some products we were buying from vendors, and I was like, hey, if we could make this, we would save everybody money. And it just flies off the shelf that way when it's more affordable and accessible. Yeah. So we would love to make everything in-house.
Right. And then, man, you'd be using that back end of that store big time. You would need the old Gypsy Kit building if you started doing all that. And they had the kitchen too. But have you ever watched Schitt's Creek? So are you aware of the apothecary that
Rose Apothecary?
Yeah. So I really, really like that business model. And I know it's a fictional story, but you kind of have similar
that's the best compliment
business. Yeah, shout out David. He's a fictional character, but yeah, I really did like that, where and his boyfriend and I guess it was his sister were like nagging him of, how's this business model acceptable, or how is it gonna last, blah blah blah. And he was like, I don't make anything. I buy it from vendors and then I repackage it as a Rose product, and then and then I just have amazing products from other people. So I did really like that. We actually spit around a couple different ideas with that, and I was like, okay, overcomplicated. I'm not the person to do it, but you and your husband seems like the people to do it, and to get these other maybe brands that people just flat out didn't know about. And now maybe they have more than one product in your store.
Yeah.
And so you're really just helping out other small creators and business owners.
Totally.
And that's what it's all about. I love to hear people get started And I've been in this position too, and I'm very proud of it. But people getting started, someone helping them get to where they are now, and then they get to help someone else that is in their old position, you know. And I've seen it with Selena and her painting. I've personally experienced it with Jake, my friend Jake in the heavy equipment industry, just all these different stories, and DJ Maniac in the arcade industry. I'm like, this is amazing. This should be, I hope, a lot of people's goals is to, we talk about this often, of not considering everyone just competition. I have to beat them. I have to be better than them, but use them as assets and be like, okay, I don't want to hire you. I don't want to merge our businesses, but I want to pay you your wage to use your services. And I want you to be a part of this, you know, whether it be products or whether it be me and my friend Jake would hire each other at full rate all the time to help each other's projects and or big excavation jobs. And it doesn't have to be about the competition. Yeah. And it's so more beneficial for everybody involved when we are using each other as tools and assets. And have you had any good experiences with local people, you know, that you've came in contact with besides vendors? Like, have you got to work with anyone or help anyone like in that same similar position?
Like with their own businesses?
Or they helped you and you got to help someone else? Like
I mean, I think there's so many sort of cooperative relationships that have come through the store, and we've gotten to know so many local creatives who it's, you know, there are ladies who sell candles under their own brand that we make in the store, and they buy them wholesale. And like someone like Britt, you know, she could easily buy her herbs on Amazon and save a lot of money, but she chooses to support us.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to, you know, push her products. She's amazing in her business in whatever capacity. And we're all promoting each other too, and getting to tell each other stories.
Exactly.
And I think it's not necessarily unique to our industry, but both with the farm and the store, you know, people are hitting us up every couple days. We're getting emails of like, oh, I want to start a regenerative farm. Will you like tell me what to do?
Cool.
And it's
good.
like, heck yeah.
That's
like,
perfect.
Let me tell you everything that I know. It's not some like cutthroat, like, oh, you're starting a regenerative farm 20 minutes from us. You're going to be our direct competitor. It's like, no, we need a regenerative farm every 5 miles.
I agree.
Like we need a resupply in every community.
I agree 100%. And I got to listen to somebody, I forget the guy's name, and I'm sorry, but he was saying that we could completely do away with these gross factory farms, mass slaughterhouses and everything if we had a like a Fisher's or a Carcanos in each individual Owl Park and Wichita and Electra have them, you know, stuff like that. We could completely do away with it, and everyone, you know, what we were talking about could get off the medical crap, could get off, you know, just all these extra problems, and it is sustainable. It's been proven, I guess, on paper that it is sustainable, but it's breaking the mold that we're just, you know, we're programmed into. But I like the idea, and a resupply or a meat market or, you know, stuff like that is, I think, what we should be striving for. And we still need the hubs. We still need, you know, Wichita Falls and DFW and Austin and LA, stuff like that. But our little towns need to be a little bit more self-sufficient. And something that made me sad, this random story, but I, of course, made older friends at that factory job that I worked at, and guys that had lived in Owl Park their entire life, and now they're old men. So they had cool experiences and stories from the past, and they would just tell me, yeah, we used to have this store, we used to have 2 grocery stores, we used to have this and this and this and this in our tiny town. And I was like, what happened? Because almost nothing is there besides the bare necessities. And they said, Walmart came.
Walmart, yeah.
Walmart. And dude, I don't know if you've driven through Owl Park, but Walmart's no longer there. It's now a machine shop. And they tanked the whole freaking town with them when they went down. And now everyone just accepted, like, oh, if I need anything that I can't get at Dollar General or whatever, I'm going to go to Wichita. But at once upon a time, these tiny towns were more self-sufficient, and the highways weren't what they were.
Right.
And they were still there, but they were now what is our access roads used to be the highway. So it wasn't as easy to just get down. So the community took care of itself better, and I like that. And you're right in the middle of that business plan. love it, completely love it. You're doing the, what I'd consider a general store or apothecary, whatever, and you're selling the food products as well, the meats and everything. I really, really do admire what y'all got going on. So,
and we have big dreams of expanding, like more groceries.
Good.
We'd knock out the back, but we have to get that community buy-in, and I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's why, I wanted you on. I wanted to hear your story. I wanted more people to hear your story. And we're going to get you there, and hopefully we can maybe make y'all like a poster child of like, hey, this is how you do it, and then hit up Resupply if you want to know how to make your own, whatever it is. So I love to see it, and I love that y'all are working with other people. And
we just set up a girl in Vernon, if anyone's
cool.
In Vernon.
A
girl in Vernon who's starting her own refill shop.
Good.
So got her
good,
hooked
good,
up.
good.
She's open now downtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it just like that. It all works out. Did she reach out to y'all? How did that go about? Is it someone you already knew?
She was a customer that I connected with and had become friends with, and they're trying to revitalize Vernon downtown because it's a similar situation to Iowa Park, where Walmart came in, shut down all the businesses, but their downtown's so cute. And it's like, why? We want these places to be vibrant and flourishing again.
Exactly.
But we have to choose as consumers. Like it's not as convenient to go to Resupply as it is to shop on Amazon, but you've got to make those little choices because it makes such a huge impact.
Exactly. And everyone's heard it, but it just goes without saying, but it's like a meme or a saying on Facebook that you always see that whenever you support local, that's like putting soccer jerseys on little kids' teams or ballet lessons or whatever it is. When you're buying from Amazon, it's just so disconnected from basically reality. And I don't know, I'm sure in all your traveling, you've seen an Amazon warehouse. It's unlike any, it's like something you've never seen before. I was taken away. There was 2 of them somewhere. We went to Colorado and we passed a couple of them, and they were almost side by side, and I almost couldn't believe what I was looking at. And I was just like, this is the most unnatural thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I worked at a factory, I kind of know the inner workings of places like that. And I was just like, this is horrible. This thing needs to just be demoed, man. Like, don't get me wrong, it's so easy to just click, and it's a little bit cheaper, but man, just like you were talking about, you made a connection with somebody, some random customer. Now y'all are buddies, and now she's trying to help out her town. So it's so much more personal and so much more connected to you to do this type of route, And more than likely, you have pictures of your cows, of your pigs, of everything, of your farm, and people can know where they're getting their food from. I go to United Market Street, nothing against United, but they couldn't tell you wherever that cow came from, They may be getting it from a packer elsewhere that they may know where the cow was bought from, but probably not, And they don't know who raised it. They don't know how they raised it. And they're going to cut those cancer spots out and then just grind it up and call it a cow. Call it a, slice of beef, whatever, if you're lucky of that. I can remember seeing some packaging. I was looking for flank steak the other day. It's been a little bit, but there was something called just this random cut of meat that they just labeled like iron skillet cut or something like that. And I was like, that's like a chicken nugget. That's a made up term, that's not a biology or a piece of biology of this cow. I'm like, I don't know if I want to buy this or not. This is a little too disconnected from me. And just like people have been saying for years, like, can you point to where the nugget is at on a chicken? And, it's not. It's just a lot of different bits thrown together. And it's like, do we really want to be eating that? I can promise you don't. It's like the old story of bologna. Like, if you knew what bologna was, then you probably wouldn't eat it. And I haven't ate bologna in forever. But anyways, I'd be more willing to eat bologna than I would some of these fast food things. But man, it's just such a better way of living. And we can just get further doing it. The route that you're on, it takes longer and it's harder, but it's more worth it, like we've been talking about. And just a random story. Long time ago, I got real inspired by, there is factories out there that they burn trash to make electricity. Have you seen that or anywhere? Some countries in Europe completely run off of it, but it solves the trash issue. And I was wondering like how you could go about like getting your community involved with recycling. And I was just kind of thinking about that. I'm like, people around here are not going to do that, but it's reaffirming. And I was just thinking of like recycling because it's such a undertaking to try to do something like the factory I was mentioning, but to get like a community type of recycling. I was watching these YouTube videos, and some European cities are just all in. People will just save every single piece. They know what the grade of plastic is. They separate them by the numbers, and they know what's trash, what's usable, whatnot. And I'm like, God, it'd be hard to do. It'd be hard to get the whole community behind you, but I'm glad to see that you're having good success with it. And you're not a recycling plant. You're just encouraging reuse of products or, reducing. So it's good to see that you're getting some good feedback, and we can use you as a resource and a business model. Like, look, Resupply is surviving. If they can do it, someone else in Vernon can do it, So anything big that we haven't talked about in between the beginning of the farming, from anything to do with your diet, anything to do with running Resupply that we need to get on the table, like any big accomplishments? Have you won any awards? Have you lost anything? Did you have to sell any part of your farm to get the business going? What have we missed in your story?
Oh man, I feel like we ran the gambit.
Yeah.
But I would just reiterate, if folks are listening who want to start their own business, I think a lot of us get it in our heads, well, we need to accomplish XYZ before we take this leap of faith or pursue a new endeavor. And, no one's ever going to be fully prepared.
Right. Yeah. We've talked about this, the too prepared entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just, at a certain point, it is good to do your research, but you don't know what you don't know, and you can't know until you do it.
Exactly. That's a perfect way to say it.
And there's so much that I still don't know. It's just it requires you to be open-handed, and, we have big fails like almost every day. I was getting texts from my husband before I came in that, this main water line broke, and it's just every other day something major is kind of happening. Or today, the internet being out in the store and us not being able to run transactions. But at the end of the day, you just can't sweat that stuff. It's going to happen, but you can't let those little hiccups get you down in the long run and be the measure of your success.
Yeah.
And that's been a really big challenge for me in running Resupply. It's hard not to look at things by the day, like the day by day. And, you have good days and you have bad days, but you have to look at longer term trends. You have to give yourself a lot of grace in this process.
For sure.
And so I just always like to tell people, please be kind to yourself when you're doing,
good point.
Whether you're running a business or doing other hard things, because, we're all doing hard things, but we've got to remember to take time and be kind to ourselves.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love all that. And one, I wanted to say, or re-bring up the saying of don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet the sweaty stuff. So that's just a good rule of thumb, but I like that, to take it easy on yourself. And man, I'll tell you, maybe some of the companies that some people look up to, whether it be like Facebook or TikTok or Target or Walmart, whatever, these big global corporations probably aren't doing as good as you think it is. And it's interesting to learn about, and you can see it on places like Shark Tank, people that come in with multi-million-dollar businesses that are still needing help. And they're like, wait, why are you doing these big numbers and still needing our help? And then it's something to really sit back and think. It kind of brings you into that thought of the Instagram world of like, nothing is this perfect, and so things can be on surface level look amazing, but you don't know what those companies are going through.
Right.
You don't know what their day-to-day looks like, and it may look like chaos in their office of wondering where their next dollar is coming from, and they're burning multi-million dollars a day running their outfit. So, you can't base your success off of anything besides what you just said off of your, not your day to day, but your overall experience, you know, and it's just part of entrepreneurship, but you can easily get that like shiny penny syndrome of like, oh, I need what they just got this tool, or they just got this new application, blah, blah, blah. And I need it, or that looks cool. That could really help me. But man, you just kind of got to stick to your guns, you know, and you got to find what works for you. You got to find who your ideal customer is. And like you said, you're not going to please everybody, and you got to learn how to accept that. And it's hard to know that some people just aren't going to know or like your business, and some people may not even know that resupply exists. So a lot of people don't know that this podcast exists. So it's just about finding your groove, man, and what works for you. And man, I don't want to wrap this up, honestly, but here we are at 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. Let me think. Oh, I've started something new last week, and I want to get you in on it as well. And it's good to hear your opinion because you're not originally from Wichita Falls. What is your favorite restaurant in the Wichita Falls area? Let's say Wichita County.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I did already mention Gypsy Kit. I mean,
Yeah.
they were and are. I have not been to their new location.
Yeah.
But they were my favorite.
Okay.
Best sweet potato fries, hands down.
Yeah.
But also, like, I haven't been to Fox Hill that many times, but it's amazing.
Okay. I haven't been, but I was just told we need to go. Okay.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's like upscale dining, but
Okay.
I mean, everything's farm to table.
Okay. Cool.
You know, when we have the in-laws come to town or friends from out of town, like
Cool.
we hit up Fox Hill.
Gotcha.
I can't believe we have a place like that.
Yeah,
here.
it's kind of sad that it took that, because that's just been around like under 5 years, I think. And so it's sad that just now, but man, they put a lot of business, or put a lot of money into their business. They have a hell of a garden outside. They have a whole like barn shop thing that you could tell they do a lot of work in. Like they take that serious. I haven't been inside yet, but just their outer part of their building is just amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, good answer.
What about you? What's your favorite?
Man, so I've been here for a while, and I have a lot of opinions. I'll say I don't think I can put a number one on anybody, and because last week Anthony talked about Stone Oven, just right over there, and we both agreed that it was the best pizza that we'd ever had, and I easily put them in my top 5. But man, and I want to stay locally owned, Wichita Falls, Wichita County people. I think, let's see, it just depends, because if you're doing Mexican, then somewhere like Casa Mañana is amazing. But if you go Asian, which is completely different, then somewhere like Samurai would be my favorite. And then if you do pizza, it would be Stone Oven.
Yeah.
And then a second, if Stone Oven's my number one pizza, my number 1.5 would be Bully's Bar and Grill. Have you heard of them? They're right outside of Wichita. But I don't think I could put a number one on anyone because I love so many around here. But I'd say for sure Stone Oven, for sure Samurai, and let's give a number 3 of... we like going to Carrot. We like going to Carrot.
Carrot's
And
great.
Carrot holds a good place to me and my wife because it was one of our first dates.
Oh, nice.
And so Carrot can be in my top 3 for now. And so anyways, yeah, love that. I'm going to start doing that with all my guests because, 1, we need to shout out companies around here. But then 2, just like me and you got stooped a little bit just then, it's like it really makes you think. And I took the idea from my dad got interviewed years ago. My dad's a county commissioner here. And anyways, he was on the news, I think just kind of campaigning, and they asked him several different, local government questions, blah, blah, blah. He's just answering them, no problem. And then at the very end, they said, Commissioner Watts, what's your favorite Tex-Mex restaurant? And he said, oh my gosh, this is the hardest question that you've asked me the whole time. And then he answered them. from west to east end of the county because he serves a huge area of land as a county commissioner in his precinct. And so he went Carlitos in Electra, and then at the time a place in Owl Park was called El Sancho's, and he shouted them out. And then in Wichita, I think he said El Norteño 1. Have you ever been there? It's right across the river over here. You know where the Impec and the J.S. Bridwell, it's right across the street from them. And man, it's good.
Really?
You can tell someone's grandma cooked that,
know
or at
what's
least
up.
she made the recipe.
Yeah.
So super, super good. And then this is a question that stooped us last week. But what is your favorite business here in Wichita Falls? And you can't say your own, because my answer would be either your company or Ramble & Company, but you can't answer as Resupply. What's one of your favorite places to go to, whether it be just supporting them or you shop there also? Like, got any good answers for that one?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, I love Ramble also, but I'm going to shout out, like, we have some great coffee shops in Wichita Falls. Like,
good point.
I go to the Duck all the time. Love Collective, love 8th Street.
Yeah.
I mean, we have good restaurants, we have good coffee. It's amazing to me that we have such a huge selection in Wichita Falls. And it's not even like decent coffee. It's like really good. And Mythic Roasters. Yeah. Like, we love Patrick too.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't drink caffeinated coffee.
Okay.
Because of my autoimmune stuff.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Also, Tay and Co. The party planning
the
people.
party planning company. She is amazing.
Gosh, they're just like on it.
Yeah,
too.
and she used to make charcuterie boxes for my wife's business. Every time a client would come in,
nice.
My wife would get the client one, but Tay had for like this small package, she had a minimum of like maybe 4 boxes. You had to buy 4 boxes because they're, she got prices, whatever. And then so my wife would get the client one, she'd get her hair and makeup artist one, and then she'd get herself one. And then so everyone, and then I would get some every now and then if someone didn't take it. And then, we were going through Tay & Co. charcuterie boxes like just nobody's business. And then, but we go to the art walks and make sure we go find her, and then, go support Tay because she's awesome. And she got an amazing building on Brook Street that y'all need to go check out, and you can't miss it because it is solid,
so
bright
cute.
pink.
Yeah.
And that's a good answer. I'm gonna have to tell her that you shouted her out like that because super, super good. But my answer would be yours, Ramble & Company, and then I honestly just don't go shopping that much, but we do go eat a lot. So, but I really, really do love Resupply, man.
Thank you.
I hope that you can encourage more and more people to, they don't have to do exactly what you're doing, but maybe they can be along the same lines as you.
And we tell baby steps. I mean, we're all about, it's not about doing zero waste perfectly. This is a quote we love, but everyone can make just little baby steps that have a huge impact in the long run. So whether you just switch over one product, like your spices, you're going to save money refilling your spice jars at our store versus going to Walmart.
I'm coming. I'm a big cooker. I'm coming to you now.
Awesome.
And that's a good idea. And then I also wanted to talk to you. We got time to spare a little bit. Do you have to go anywhere? No. Okay, cool. We were talking about humanely raising cows and animals, whatever. Have you seen the Temple Grandin movie? Really? I think you would like it because have you heard of her story at all?
Oh, is she the one that can she's the cow whisperer?
Yes, okay. And she is, I believe,
on the spectrum.
I'm sorry. Yeah. She's on the spectrum. Just put it that way. That'll answer the question. But man, it's a powerful story. And she had a different lens come into the problem of where it was a totally white man controlled economy or culture, whatever you want to call it. The beef industry was 100% old, horrible thinking, and just get it done.
Yeah.
And this woman, man, she revolutionized the game and completely changed it. I want to recommend it to everybody. I got to watch it in high school. Luckily, we had a substitute teacher come into ag class one day, and we got to watch that. But She really did. And she faced a lot of problems. One, being on the spectrum, but two, being a woman back in, I'm guessing it was like 60s or 70s. I'm just spitballing there, but several decades ago. And man, she didn't give a shit, dude. She got right in there. She snuck in there. And I'm talking about like packing houses and slaughterhouses and whatnot. She would dress up as a man to go basically undercover. And she almost looked at it like through the animal's perspective. And she watched how inhumane they were. And she really fixed it, man. And then some people don't do her method, but a lot of popular slaughterhouses do. And then, but yeah, I'd recommend that, and I think y'all would like it. And then another one, have you watched Little Big Farm on Hulu? I felt like I was talking to the owner of Little Big Farm today, and because y'all have a similar story of getting almost a barren land that was really just beat up and tore up, that clearly y'all are running a lot of cows on, and it's sustainable now. And then, so that's another plug that y'all need to go watch. And another question I had for you was, what are y'all doing in the lines of composting? Yeah. Do y'all have y'all's own little compost bin or anything?
Yeah, we have a giant composter. More recently, we feed all of our food scraps to the pigs.
Okay.
Because we don't have a garden at the moment, but generally, yes.
I gotcha. And then you said a big composter. Do you have like a machine?
No, it's just a big rolly thing, but I mean.
Okay, like a side barrel. Yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen those, but not a big one. Cool. I like that Little Big Farm because they built like a building for their compost to make those teas, and then they had it in their irrigation system and stuff. It's really, really beautiful to see. And I'm trying to do something similar with it. I just need more compost. Yeah. And I have reached out to like Wichita Whispers. I haven't put it on Rants and Raves, but maybe more people will listen to this. But I've put out feelers like, hey, if you cut your lawn and bag it, like holler at me. If you rake up leaves, holler at me. Or if you want to bag up your kitchen scraps, let me know because I'll come get them. And then so I got a couple people, one or two that routinely call me, hey, I got kitchen scraps, And just really in a goal into like encouraging people to, do better with their waste. But then also, I really like the whole process of composting. It's really interesting where my wife likes taking care of the garden and really doctoring the flowers and the plants and seeing what else we can get grow. I like, kind of like your husband, like the behind the scenes, building it, making things work the right way. And that's something I really took to is composting because it's just so interesting. And you almost can't do it wrong, so if you mess it up, it's fine. Just stir it up, and then you can leave it for a couple of days, and it starts working.
Yeah. Did Wichita Falls ever offer composting?
So they do. And then Wichita Falls, if you're a resident in the city, you get like a black trash can, and you get like a brown or green trash can. And then the brown or green one is only, for kitchen scraps and limbs and all that. And then they go and they have a separate place at the dump to dump the organic matter, but people don't like it because you get a lot of random stuff in there. And then so when I put my post out saying, hey, I want to collect compost, and they're like, well, why should we give it to you instead of the city? And someone, I didn't have to say it, I didn't even know this was a problem. Someone said, well, if Levi collects it and makes compost, there won't be human feces in there. I was like, okay, didn't know that was a problem, but wow. I can guarantee they may be some cow or some chicken in there, but there won't be human anything in there besides scraps of food, corn, whatever it is. So, yeah, I was just like, oh, I didn't know it was so gross. And I've seen it. They do a compost giveaway like twice a year here. And, anything, any container, any truck that you bring, they'll give it to you. But you just never know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. And it's at the dump. And I don't know if you've ever been to the dump. It's not like a big old wall in between it. It's just like you drive here for the trash, you drive over here for the composting area. It's just not put together well. But if I could get enough people to give me enough and then really build it like some of these community centers would, I would make compost to give away at, high, which is just high quality compost
Yeah.
that and I would make videos over of like, yeah, I got a whole barrel full of, kitchen scraps, whatever it be, and do some educational stuff I've been thinking about doing. But it's just finding it. And that's the hard part. Everyone wants to give away cow poop, and a lot of people will give away grass clippings, but the money's in the veggie and fruit scraps. And it's really hard to make that much,
Yeah.
I need to start going to restaurants, and I thought about maybe hitting up some schools.
Yeah.
But then kind of a problem that you go through of like educating people of why you should do things a different way. Then you got to worry about educating your potential customer, or not my customers, but like people that would give away food scraps. If you were to go to a school, you'd have to like basically tell them like, hey, tell these mean, unruly little kids to like separate their scraps out. So,
but that's how that they need to learn.
Yeah,
and that's
I agree.
why when you go to Europe, it's ingrained in them
Yeah.
from a very young age. It's like learning a second language,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to change the behavioral patterns of adults. But
Yeah.
children is the place
That's
to start,
true.
and they are going to mess it up. But still,
Yeah.
trying to reinforce that every day, I
Yeah.
think would have huge impact.
yeah, I think so too. That's a good point. And I watched some awesome dude I think he was from Brooklyn, and he ran a composting thing, and he gave every single thing away for free because he got sponsored from the city and the county, and that's where all the financial backing came from. And he ran and was proud of having a zero emissions composting facility. He didn't own a tractor. He didn't own any piece of equipment at all. All he had was volunteers and a shitload of shovels. And all they would do, and it was all on concrete, it was really nice setup, and he'd have like a 6-foot pile right here and be like, okay, we're going to take this 6-foot pile and put it right here. And that's our way of stirring it. And dude, you just see the steam bellowing off of
Yeah.
it. It was grade A stuff. And so anyways, that's something I've really got into, and I got kind of passionate about it from that Little Big Farm documentary because their setup was so nice. I really
They had
liked
$1 million investors too.
Exactly.
We always like to
Yeah.
plug that. We love what they're doing,
Mhm.
and that's the dream of like all regenerative farms. But you
Yeah.
need capital to make that
Exactly. And that's what, brings us back to what we were talking about a second ago, was what you're willing to give out of your business, whether it be equity or what, and to get where you're going. And then you can go those places. It just may take your whole lifetime if you don't want to sell your company. And that's fine. That's completely fine. People have different goals, different mindsets of ways to do it. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. It may not be the best, thing to say nowadays, but, it's true. And there's different ways of going about business. And I like the way the world's changing now for us. It's still hard to get going, like we've been talking about this whole conversation, but there's different avenues opening up for people. And then, but yeah, man, I want to give you the floor to plug any and every single social media you have, to plug your website. If you have cool videos out there, tell us every way to get a hold of you and how to watch you and everything.
Yeah, so we're big on Instagram, not big on it, but big into it. So re.farm is the farm, and then resupply for the store. Same with our website, refarm.market, store website, resupply.market. We're on Facebook too, but Instagram is really where we're the most active. That's where
Cool.
we've kind of built our people,
Cool.
our little community.
Cool.
So
That
yeah.
sounds good. And then I know I've kind of already asked you, but is there anything that we missed that you want to get out there? Did we not talk about anything that you wanted to? Was there anything that you had in your head before you showed up or did we get it all out there on the table?
I think we pretty much covered it. I like to reiterate that, a store like Resupply can be pretty overwhelming or intimidating sometimes for folks when they come in, because it's a really unfamiliar model. Like,
Right.
what does it mean to bring my own container
Yeah.
and refill it? Like, you don't get it until you're in there, but
Yeah.
I just want to say we are such a safe and welcoming space. Like,
Yeah.
we don't care if you're like super into sustainability or not.
Mhm.
Like, we don't care if you use, plastic bags at Walmart. We're a no judgment zone.
Yeah.
We're just about everybody doing what they can.
Cool.
So we hope that if you haven't already, you'll stop by. Someone will be there with a smiling face to
Yeah.
help you through the process.
Heck yeah. And then did you tell them where you are?
Oh, yeah. 809 Indiana Avenue, right
And-
next to the Broken Tap.
Yeah, Wichita Falls, Texas, baby. So cool, man. Cool. And as I've been saying, I'm on Patreon. If you want to help support this show, you can find me at Texas Barons. Just Texas Barons on Patreon. Go show us some support because I'm footing this bill right now, and we need to keep this thing going, and we can get more people in and better experience. And thanks again to Patrick at Mythic Roasters. Make sure that you go find him every single Saturday at the Wichita Falls Farmers Market. And if you like this stuff, tell your friends, like, subscribe, share it on Facebook, share it on YouTube, whatever. Just tell somebody about it. And I really enjoyed our conversation, Kacie.
Thanks. Likewise.
So thanks, everybody.